Happy Sunday, SMITE fans. You are watching Day 3 of Week 1 of Phase 2 of SPL Season 7. It is Dolson on desk all day. This time, though, Mifflin is going to join me for set number 1. Now, Mifflin, we've had 4 sets so far. All 8 teams have played. No 2-1s yet, all 2-0 sets. Do you think that might change here today?
I think it definitely could. Between the 2 sets, if I had to vote on one going to 3, it's got to be Renegades versus Obey Alliance. Ghost Gaming just looks so dominant. I'm not sure that eUnited will be able to pull through.
Yeah, it always depends on how eUnited shows up on any given day. Renegades Obey will round out our week here. Now, with what we've kind of seen from all of these teams, only once each, so today is going to be kind of a good differentiator from what we saw in the first set of the phase so far for all these teams into the second. Updated standings here for you, obviously, just with the one game. Separated into halves. Teams that have won, teams that have lost. Let's talk a little bit about Ghost Gaming, though, Mifflin, and piggybacking kind of on the thought that you just had, and that they've just looked so good, they've looked dominant, near unbeatable, and maybe also leveraging a bit of the conversation around the current meta, maybe specifically out of this long lane. The magical ADCs have started to run rampant. Does Panacat seem like a guy you can forge that into some success here for Ghost?
100%. Pandacat's always been one of the star players for Ghost Gaming. In Phase 1, ADCs didn't really get that chance to shine, but with the recent Hunter changes as well as the magical Hunter changes, they have plenty of options that they can take just incredibly strong picks. Right now, it's not really limited to Uller if you want pressure in the long lane. You can play just about any standard Hunter. We've seen Cupid see some success in mid. That should also leverage itself in duo, but I'm just kind of dancing around the issue, which is Freya, Sol, Kronos, and Oleron, all of which can just straight up win you a game.
Yeah, at this point, really, if you're in that first pick slot and one of the above isn't banned out, it seems not necessarily necessary, but it's a good idea to maybe start to think about locking in one of the gods that can synergize with Ring of Hecate relatively well. Interesting kind of that the conversation sways there. I think a lot of the players in the league looking at the current meta figured that the jungle would be hyper important, and I'm sure it will be. We've only seen a handful of games here. But what do you think you've seen out of the jungle so far? Do you think there's a pretty big impact from the junglers in this set?
It seems like junglers right now are really leaning towards some early pressure. I'm thinking gods along the lines of Raven, like these gods that get involved pre-5, they really hit their power spike around level 13, and then slowly start to de-escalate. And I think that's really because of the meta that we're in. You're looking at these hyper carries in mid, you're looking at these hyper carries out of duo. You don't really need your jungler to be that huge impact playmaker come late game, as long as you have someone that can do that, a la Freya, Oleron, even Poseidon, gods like that, Thoth. Persephone, if you're sanguine, somehow getting that one through. There are plenty of ways that junglers are just trying to look to get their team to late.
Yeah, I think you look at what Kivo Fred was trying to do the other day for the Knights. He got an early gank on Freya, was super impactful in the early game, and didn't really matter later on. We did get a chance to talk a little bit about the long lane here, though, Mifflin. Obviously, Pandacat, super pivotal, but kind of the frontliner here for this team, PBM. I had the chance to chat with him prior to this big game and hear his thoughts about eUnited. Down here with PBM support for Ghost Gaming. First of all, Mike, big congrats. Started off the phase 2-0 over Obey. Got to talk a little bit with one of you guys after that game. Overall, how do you think you'd rate that performance? Obviously, a lot in this update, sort of teams still figuring out. All things considered, do you think you guys had a good first set?
Can't really complain with a win. I think every team is just trying to figure out the meta right now and figure out what they want to play or what's the best. So, you know, kind of just trying to figure things out one step at a time. It's a lot easier in the SPL than it is in scrims because you just get game day performances. So, yeah, definitely a productive set for us.
Well, you're going up against eUnited here in this set, and obviously kind of continuing that meta conversation, and maybe aptly against eUnited specifically. Cthulhu in the support role has been an interesting thing we've seen. Again, Snoopy played that in both of their games in their first set of phase number 2. Do you think Cthulhu will be a contested pick here in this set?
Yeah, I think Cthulhu is pretty strong right now. I think that people could play him in a couple different roles, and I think that it'll be interesting to see how people value him and how that shifts over time. But yeah, I mean, they've showed that they really like it, so I assume it'll be a high pick contest for both teams.
And I'm actually kind of curious on your thoughts. I mean, for all of us, eUnited has kind of been this difficult team to sort of lock down. It's sort of a game day dependent, maybe, as you were, a game day performance. Didn't look bad in their loss up against Radiance, but 0-2 there in that set. What do you make of this eUnited team, and maybe where does your confidence stand going into this set?
Well, of course, I'm really confident going into any set. Just expecting that if we play our best, that we can win. But eUnited's a really weird team to figure out because I don't think that they're not getting stomped, but they're also consistently losing throughout last split and then their set yesterday as well. So I don't know what's really going on with them, but it just kind of seems like they don't really. I don't know if it's coordination or control or maybe just shot calling, whatever it is, I don't know, but they're still a threat. They're still trading evenly with all these teams throughout the early and mid games, and they're finding fire giant plays. They're still a good team. I don't really know why it's not clicking for them, but I'm not going to expect that to just not change versus us, I guess.
Right. Yeah, you absolutely can't look over anyone here in this league. Mike, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck against the United, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one.
Confidence, as always, from PBM. I'd expect nothing less, especially with the way Ghost finished off the midseason tournament on top, and now 2-0 to start off their Phase 2. But one thing I kind of latched onto there, Mifflin, is the way he describes this eUnited team and sort of that they never get blown out, right? I mean, they're always in these sets. I mean, obviously, with some outliers maybe here and there, but they're always in the game until seemingly right up there until the very end. Do you have any better luck, mentally trying to figure out where this eUnited team stands?
I think eUnited's main failing right now is that even when they are able to establish a lead, they can never really leverage it to grow it into something larger. Always, even if they go into the 20-minute mark with a 3,000 gold lead, they struggle around confirming fire giants. They struggle around getting these game-winning team fights. And I think a lot of it has to do with the picks that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. When you have Hurrywin, who is, bar none, the best Yanis in the world, of course he wants to play it, but some of the failings of that god is that the consistency of damage really isn't there, so you can't really 100% rely on him to find these huge game-changing ultimates, these huge game-changing plays with these AoE abilities, and maybe that's where they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I think the mid lane conversation is going to be a lot of fun to follow, specifically through picks and bans here in this matchup. But the newcomer to the long lane here, Mifflin, was GuyJ, and I think a lot of the conversation around this eUnited team, and specifically this long lane after their first set performance here in Phase 2, was that, yeah, they lost, but honestly, GuyJ didn't look that bad. He looked like he had, made it quite well here in his first SPL set.
Yeah, I'd say GuyJ looked incredibly good. If anything, it was Snoopy who was struggling a little bit with his role change towards support. Getting caught out pre-0 minutes could really spell some doom for that lane in general. It's hard to make a comeback from there when 50% of your lane starts the game from behind. But I think GuyJ is really meshing well with the squad. He's playing incredibly well. He hasn't made any egregious errors. He's always in position and ready to follow up. I think as long as Snoopy's able to get back up to snuff and support, that might be a very formidable duo lane.
Yeah, this is a team absolutely, with some growing pains to get over early on here in Phase 2. Snoopy changing roles, GuyJ coming into the squad, so expect nothing but improvement from this eUnited team as the weeks go on. Snoopy, a name we said quite a few times here in the pregame segment about eUnited, and I had the chance to talk to him about role swaps, Cthulhu, GuyJ, all the above. Take a listen. All right, now we sit down with Snoopy, the support now for eUnited. So Snoopy, first things first, what's that transition been like for you? Kind of new role, jumping over to support. We'll get to Cthulhu here in a little bit, I assume, but overall, kind of a position swap for you. How's that been feeling?
Yeah, it's been really good. I've been enjoying it a ton, and just maybe a breath of fresh air, switching roles and being able to do something from a different angle has been really nice for me. It's been giving me a lot more motivation to play and really grind the game. But overall, it hasn't been too hard of a switch. I've pretty much played, whenever I play ranked, I play whatever I feel like, and so I know the gods. It was more or less just knowing the role from a competitive standpoint, and scrims have really helped with that, and obviously I'll learn more going forward with more scrims and more SPL games. But I think mechanic-wise, I'm really strong, and it really is just decision-making, and that'll come with time, I think, so.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that definitely showed in your set the other day. Playing with a new ADC now, Guy J filling into the team, and I think by and large, despite the way that set went, it wasn't necessarily, to your point, maybe mechanical issues. So what have your thoughts been on how Guy J has filled into the slot and played in his first SPL set?
Yeah, like you said, mechanics on point for Guy J. He's a really, really strong mechanical player. And it's a similar situation, I think. Like, he's been playing a little bit in competitive, but the more he plays on top end, the more he's going to get decision-making. Like, it's going to get stronger and stronger, and the more we play as a team, and especially as a two-man unit, myself and him, we're going to get to know what we're going to do and what we need to do. And I think his ceiling is really, really high, and I can't wait to see how far he can go.
Agreed. We're all excited to see that as well. I sort of mentioned at the beginning of the interview, obviously you liked the Cthulhu pick in your set against Radiance. Do you think Cthulhu starts to kind of weed into that potential ban territory, or is he right on that fringe? You expect him to be a pretty contested support pick nonetheless?
I think he'll be pretty contested. I'm not sure how often he'll get banned. It might be a situation where if a support player enjoys playing it or plays a lot, then he'll start getting banned. But overall, I think he can be played a decent amount. He's just so oppressive once he gets that ult off in a team fight, and
that's true.
His lane is good, and like he's just an overall good character. I think he does lag a little bit when his ult is down, so people might start playing around that, or it just in general it might be a little harder. But once people get better with the character, I think he's going to be a top tier sport for sure.
Hey, you looked good on the other day, so I certainly believe you there. Kind of final thoughts. You're going up against Ghost here in your second set of the phase. What do you think it takes to beat Ghost today, and maybe where's your confidence level stand?
I think we're just going to have to play like more as a team, and obviously like with the role swap and the roster change, it's going to be like taking more time. We have a lot of sets to split, and we're going to use them the best of our ability to improve each and every time. So although like I do believe that we're going to have a good chance against Ghost, I think we're going to use this as a big learning experience either way, and try to just like improve going forward.
Snoopy, I think that's the best way of looking at it. It's a long phase too, and we can't wait to see where you guys stand towards the end of it. Best of luck in your set today, and thanks for sitting down with me. Hey, I like the way that Snoopy and the rest of eUnited are starting to approach things here. They got a big one today, though, over Ghost Gaming, who looked near infallible in their first set of the phase. Mifflin, what are your thoughts kind of on the final question there? I brought it up with Snoopy. It's a longer phase. Do you think that does nothing but benefit these teams with some growing pains, as I worded it early on here? You have more games, more sets, more time, really, to work out some of those kinks?
I think it can help, but you're still on a timer. If you're halfway through the split and you haven't figured out those kinks just yet, well, you're just going to continue to lose. And if you've lost half of the split already, that's not a good start. I think that it does give you some time. It does give you a little bit of a lead up towards the more important events towards the end of the year. But even then, they can't rest on their laurels just because they have a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, there's more games to figure stuff out, but that means there are more games to dig yourself out of if you've had a really tough time through the first half of the phase. There's a lot of picks, Miff, that we've talked back and forth about that we figured would be important here in the set. Let's take a look at picks and bans and see what we've got. Cthulhu, what do you think here? Do you think Ghosts start to look at him? Obviously, Snoopy played Cthulhu both times in eUnited's set earlier this weekend. Does that really fringe into that pick ban territory, or is there just too much power to take away before you think about Cthulhu?
It depends on how Ghost wants to play it. If they're looking to play as aggressive as they normally do, Cthulhu's pre-5 is generally kind of weak, and when his ultimate is down, as Snoopy has highlighted, it's a very exploitable support. eUnited's already shown us that they value Cthulhu support over Cthulhu solo lane, so if Ghosts are looking to put pressure on Long, if they're looking to keep the 3v3 in mid very strong, they might let Cthulhu through in order to get some more comfort picks.
Well, not banned out just yet. The Giannis is banned out. Not surprising given that it's Hurrywind on the enemy team that Ghost Gaming is banning out against, but that Giannis is that powerful in his hands that he's warranting a ban slot given a lot of the power that's still available. Freya banned out, Oleron taken away as well. Remember, Sol and Cronus have also seen some magical ADC play, so both of them still available. One of the two will be available, actually both of them. I think that's smart from eUnited. If you feel like you have to have one of these magical ADCs, let's leave one up for them, one up for us. I got to admit, Myth, didn't expect to be in a world where we'd start seeing Nemesis bans, but after the first few sets we've had here, maybe it seems warranted.
Nemesis is incredibly strong when you're paired with a group of 4 teammates who are able to work around her weaknesses, but it does leave a lot of other incredibly meta picks available. I didn't think Persephone was going to get through again, especially after what Shinto did with her yesterday. The damage from afar, the safety, the intangible plants that you could just set up in a lane and make it a very hard place to cross through. The ultimate is just a team fight lockdown ability. Persephone's got it all, and if you kill her, she's still going to hit you.
She sure will, and Shinto made it look good for Sanguine the other day. Now it's looking like a different look here for Snoopy in the support role. Hercules being locked in, Wukong there as well, so maybe some interchange there for eUnited. I gotta admit, Myth, kind of hard to wrap my head around these first couple. Obviously picks that have seen some power in their own right. What do you think eUnited's looking towards here after their first couple?
They're probably going to look to pick up a mid laner here, since Ghost Gaming already has theirs. They don't want to get all the best options banned out. But as far as the 2 picks that United have so far, I am leaning towards the Hercules support. I'm also leaning towards Sun Wukong in the Soul lane. With Soul Eater changes, Sun Wukong has fantastic poke potential. You get some cooldown, some penetration, and it's going to make up for the fact that Gladiator's Shield no longer has sustain. Soul Eater is probably the next best option. That said, Sun Wukong jungle is something we saw a little bit in the first phase. We might see it again today.
Yeah, the flexibility has really come to the forefront of picks and bans here over the last few days, where teams will lock in or draft, and there's 3 picks that could be interchanged into certain roles. So we'll have to see where eUnited elect to go with their next few. Soul still left available. Soul now locked in, assuming again Guy J in that long lane. So a strong pick there for him after what we saw him do on Soul earlier in the weekend. Now Ullr Khepri seems to be a pretty popular duo here as well. Not necessarily in conjunction with one another, but potentially individually as well. Do you think that's a good long lane duo there for them, Mifflin, going up against his Soul?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the damage potential is there. Even if Soul uses the Saporate, as long as the Axe Stun comes through, you should have plenty of time to find all the follow-up damage that you need. Khepri is going to give you that second degree of safety inside Scarab's Blessing, so Ull's not going to have to play too safe at all. But this Soul, again, could be a flex pick. We might see it go towards the mid lane. I like that eUnited's doing this. It's a very ambiguous draft so far. Ghost Gaming has left no question marks on the table. That Ullr is almost certainly going to Panda Cap. Persephone's going to mid. Khepri's almost certainly going to support. Whereas eUnited, they're still kind of up in the air, so I'm excited to see what Ghost decides to ban out.
Well, Ghost are assuming, I think, that it's a long lane Soul with the Morgan being banned out. And now Neath. I loved what we saw from Neath and BMT earlier in the weekend. It was, magical ADC, Neath in the mid lane, build some of the more ability-based damage, and that ultimate just tends to shred depending on who you mark it on. Merlin now locked in for eUnited, so that answers some questions here for us, Mifflin. Soul over in the long lane, Merlin there in the mid lane. Plenty of magical damage for eUnited to play with.
A ton. Merlin is a god I felt like has been slightly overlooked in Phase 2. He's not bad. He's just a little bit outshined by these other picks that are available, but he's still one of the best mid laners in the game. He's pretty safe. He's got some of the best objective burn that you would want from a mid laner. He doesn't really get the benefit of the new magical items. He's one god that I would be incredibly surprised to see a Ring of Hecate on, but I would have said the same thing about Hades until FineOK showed us that. I like the draft from eUnited, but I'm worried about how well they're going to be able to peel the backline. Hercules and Sun Wukong are very one-note engagers. If Ghost decides to dive in the back, who's really on peel duty?
Yeah, and now you look at the Cthulhu and Pele being the ones that need peeling, and I agree. I echo some of your concerns there. We get a look here, Myth, at the 5 that Ghost are going to go with. Persephone, Ullr, can't scoff at that one. Cthulhu obviously has seen some good power. It looks like it's going to be solo lane Cthulhu for FineOK there, and then Pele out of the jungle for Sam. Strong drafts, really, for both teams, Myth. Does one kind of give you an edge one way or the other? Is that peel conversation really what worries you here?
It is. I think eUnited can absolutely win out in the early game. They've got a lot of strength towards the pre-5 to level 10 power points. But as far as team fighting goes, Ghost Gaming has some of the most standard Smite game draft I've ever seen. I mean, you've got an AoE damage mage, you've got a very supporty support, some frontliners, Uller. Everything that they're doing is so standard, but it's all incredibly strong at the same time. As far as drafts go, I'm going to lean slightly towards Ghost Gaming.
Yeah, and you have to look at the early game execution there as well. I think Ghost Gaming have proven time and time and time again that the early game is where they work, and they push that lead into the mid and late. eUnited, Myth, they showed us on Friday this week that they can hang with these top teams. They can take games off of them, but they just haven't been able to do it quite as consistently. Persephone versus Merlin, Myth, do you think that's a big pivot point here in this one?
I think that those two gods can have a lot of relative value come late game. Of course they will. Merlin's going to be a very high damage output target, as is Persephone. But as far as the 1v1 goes, Persephone is going to be clearing wave from a range and just trying to farm up for late.
Can't disagree with you there. Ghost Gaming looking to go 2 for 2 on the weekend. eUnited looking for their first win in Phase 2. Game number 1. Let's kick it off.
Thanks a lot, Dawson on the desk, and joining me on the cast will be Aggro with Doug on the spectating as usual. Aggro, I do want to kind of start things off really talking about exactly what Myth was there. I kind of agree with him here. I'm favouring Ghost just on the fact we've got a bit of a lackluster, like almost a self-peel comp is required for eUnite here. No one's really going to be able to defend the backline as well as they're going to be able to dive.
The dive is really good from eUnited for sure. I'm also a little bit worried about eUnited's engage potential, because you look at how these fights are going to start for them. Poke damage from Whirlwind, an engagement by Snoopy like this.
Blink, driving strike, Twig in an awkward spot now in mid. Did want to talk about this Persephone, and no passive online just yet, my friend. It's too early game, but I love that idea there early on. Catch this Persephone with her pants down, unaware, and don't let her set up her garden. Great start coming out from eUnited.
It's perfect, because you know Persephone wants to go out into mid, get those plants down, and set herself up for a really strong wave number 1. Now, Twig has been first-blooded, held onto the beads at the very least, but used his health pot reactively in that situation, and now he's without a health potion at all in the early game. And that's really important because of these changes to the jungle camps. It's pretty hard for mid laners to actually go and do even their side harpies, and to let alone the red buff. Without a health pot, I don't think it's even possible. And all the poke that Whirlwind's going to put out is really, really effective.
Very good point too. We'll just see how we can play this, because I was going to talk about this Persephone a little bit. We've not really seen too much Persephone as of late. Obviously she's not been available, but now she's getting through a little bit more often here, and seeing Twig look to utilize this god as well. I'm excited to see how Twig handles this, because I feel like this is one of the gods that I think could be useful in his repertoire, and something that he could become quite comfortable on as the season progresses.
You just have to be able to show that you can win games by yourself on Persephone. I think that with how strong she is, and how good she is at competitive level, because of the amount of control that her ultimate brings, the amount of instant damage that she has, I think that's her greatest strength as a mage, is that it's really hard to Aegis her damage, as opposed to someone like Scylla, who's very, very straightforward in, as far as when you have to use your relics. If you don't have great performances on Persephone, it changes your team's picks and bans until you show you'll win on Persephone. We know Whirlwind has one, we know Shinto has one after yesterday, and we know Paul has one. And outside of that, I think a lot of other mid laners are going to get chances to show what they can do on Persephone, because it does warp picks and bans so much. I don't think Sanguine will see it, I don't think eUnited will see it, and I don't think that Pittsburgh Knights will see it, because of the pedigree of those mid laners who have played it before. I kind of like the idea here by eUnited. I mean, like I said, I know Whirlwind has one. The whole league does, after how well he played it last year. Now you're forcing Ghost Gaming to either give you what they know is a priority pick for you, or maybe something that might not work as well for Twig.
Snoopy taking a bit more poke then, bargain for Guy James. Still getting aggressive, I should say, as it was Mike who was caught out by that Earthbreaker from Snoopy, who's playing the Hercules pretty far up so far. Excited to see the development of this eUnited dual lane as the season continues. We had a little chat with Snoopy pre-game, and you can see he's talking about how it's going to take time to evolve this team, but it is a very long season. Purple buff being contested here, and it looks like that purple was under some threat. Good Earthbreaker again as Snoopy blinks on in. But the purple buff around Mike's way says that Ghost Gaming did manage to secure it.
Looked like Snoopy tried to blink past an abduct that he was expecting from PBM, but it was actually the abduct damage that secured the purple buff, which is certainly fortunate by Ghost, well played by them. And Snoopy does the right thing as the support player there. You step up, you try and force them to not only double split that purple and give Gaijay a solo wave, but maybe they use a relic in order to secure it, or maybe you can waste their time a little bit to force them to miss some of that wave. It's a very low-risk, high-reward situation from Snoopy, and the fact that he uses the blink and doesn't get it hurts a little bit, but not a bad place for him to be whatsoever. I like the decision-making.
Snoopy, though, putting to pressure some more on this left-hand side as Panda Cat stepped up towards Gaijay, but the damage from Panda really lowered down Snoopy. But look at Sam for Soccer. He's after a different target in Gaijay, and he'll take down the second kill of the game. There could be opportunity for another one here. As on the right-hand side, Scream is making work onto the Cthulhu too. So we get a fight on both sides of the map as the junglers come into the fray.
Perfect timing by Sam and a great bait by Panda Cat. Steps up, he knows that he's in an awkward position right there. Snoopy comes around the back, and without a blink, as soon as that driving strike is down, he's food for Sam for Soccer. So Sam knows that he's got Snoopy locked up in a bag. There's no chance he ever escapes without blink or driving strike. So why not try and get all our damage out onto Gaijay that we can, kill him before the disapparate goes off, and then we get to go clean up Snoopy for the double kill. Perfect target selection by Sam and a perfect bait by Panda as well, which is a huge part of getting your jungler successful ganks, is setting up your lane opponent for situations like that. And I think that that's a perfect example of how to do it by Panda.
And honestly, just like good confidence more than anything else from Sam, because sometimes when you see these ganks happen and you look at a 2v2, you normally go for the weaker or the more out of position target, and that was Snoopy, but the confidence there to be able to get in and get both of them has now given a bit more of a window for Ghost on this left hand side. However, the United back looking for the purple buff, blinking from Mike. Wolfam the Abductor's Twig has made this rotation too, but Snoopy's okay for now until the Grasp of Death comes out and does connect. He's slowed down and he's not going to get much assistance on removing that Grasper now. Great Earthbreaker, however, does slow down some of the momentum, and Snoopy will be fine. Horriwin, though, jumping on in, it will take down Captain Twig just too far forward. Mike reses himself, but Scream's there for the follow-up still. Beautiful route, though, from Mike will keep him alive, and Twig's causing distractions, but Snoopy still wants the life of Polar Bear Mike. He won't find it. Instead, he'll find a trip back to the base because Panda's there to support. Sam now, though, into the mix, the lightning damage coming through, but Scream will pick up the tail end of the kill. 7 kills in less than 6 minutes.
Bit of a brawl here between these two teams, huh? An interesting decision by Sam to go in. Maybe the communication wasn't there to let him know exactly how low everyone from eUnited was. It might have been the classic, your teammates saying they're all 1 HP, and then you blink in and they're all like a third HP, and they're able to really turn and burn on you. I don't think he was expecting Scream's ultimate to still be up. I think it was a bit of miscommunication between Scream and Snoopy. I thought right after that Scarab's Blessing there it would be an easy last breath from Scream to guarantee the kill, but I think Snoopy might have actually pushed Mike out of that ultimate, but it meant that it was still up for Sam, so even though it looked a little bit awkward at first, it ends up working out pretty well for Ghost.
Or for eUnited. Where all the action's really been towards this dual lane so far is Snoopy again on this support. This is the aggressive support, so they expect Snoopy to maybe flourish on a little bit more. Obviously, Hercules in lane, really there to, you know, allow Sol to just farm up to a safer point in this lane. But he's making an impact early on already. I mean, what? He's been involved in 5 deaths in this game so far, himself included, obviously. But this Hercules early on, another support player that's bringing it to the fray.
Listen, this is how I think that everyone should be playing Hercules in support. Just a complete lack of respect for your opponent at all times. So that's kind of what you have to do on this pick. You have to be looking to be aggressive. And even though he's a little bit down in XP, the impact from him has still certainly been there.
Look at this, though. Ghost kind of out of position here. You can see right inside Sam for Soccer. He's over there doing the blue buff, and that's just opened a window for eUnited to slip away a Gold Fury at 7 minutes in. That little bit of work from Snoopy there, getting that solo kill, just developed a bit more for them now, and has given them a comfortable lead so far.
It's a huge play. So you not only do you kill PBM, but you stop Panda's back. You make sure that he has a little bit more to worry about on that side of the map. And it really stops any sort of aggression from Ghost for at least a short while on that left side of the map, which then translates into ward coverage and eventually a Gold Fury by eUnited. I've really liked the way they've played so far. Scream has 3 of the 5 kills, been involved in 4 out of the 5 for eUnited. I've liked the way he's played.
Oh, Snoopy took a ton of damage there. Beautiful workout from Captain Twig and Mike, but can they get away again is the question. Is Flourish available? Well, he's going to get hit by that ultimate, but he's still going to be relatively safe. Didn't end up, he did use the beads there just to dissuade the aggression further from Scream. So it's constant action, and this is what I'm loving. Please, no more Farm Fest for 25 minutes. Just give me action from minute 1. Scream now. Looking at Panda Cat. Panda Cat still stepping up. Takes a ton from that Death Bane coming through from Scream. As Mike now rotates in, looks for a route off the mark with that. Soccer, meanwhile, takes out Hurrywin in the mid lane, and now he's wrapping around the back too. Not sure they're going to be able to find much more here, with Scream and Guy J being safe under the towers. Back Harpies are stripped. Purple could go down soon too. Plenty of action though. Plenty of action.
Plenty of action. This is the North American style of Smite that we're seeing a little bit more. Just 10 kills in 8 minutes. And you know what? I think this is the way that eUnited might be able to pull teams into this style and find a little bit more success, because this team is, you heard PBM say it at the very beginning of the day in the pregame interview, this team just seems to have 1 or 2 things go wrong in a game and then they lose, and it's not like they're getting blown out, but their record has not been good so far in Season 7. So why not just have these absolute brawls, right? I mean, if all these long games historically have not really worked out for you, let's just see what happens, you know? Let's just start brawling. And I think that this style is one that can get eUnited into a spot where maybe they can blow the game wide open if they win a team fight. Because I think that their team fighting hasn't been horrible for the most part this year. I think a lot of their losses have really come down to individual bad decision-making or team bad decision-making in critical moments. If you can just get far enough ahead because the enemy team is pulled into fighting you all the time early game, then that might not matter as much.
Big grouping on the left-hand side again. Red buff is available for eUnited here as Snoopy will get rooted in place, take a bit of damage off Twig. Driving strikes back to safety as the Grasp of Death does go out and hit Horrorwind and Snoopy, but no real follow-up damage available there, so ultimate on cooldown from Twig. But he's quite happy to free fire this Grasp of Death too. Sometimes that can really be useful, as now Scream jumping in towards Sam for Soccer. Anti-heal is online because of that, but at the same time Snoopy with a beautiful driving strike who got focused down, but Mike with a fantastic res. This is some fun action.
I think that eUnited has to do a better job, though, of keeping Mike out of that engagement. That is such a hard 3v3 to win when you have a Khepri on the other side, that no matter what you do, you're going to have to answer to that Khepri ultimate. So whether it's saving CC for it, I think that's what Snoopy was looking for, but Mike understands his role there as well, which is not to get involved in any way, except to be in range for that max range Scarab's Blessing. So he kind of steps back, forces Snoopy to then turn around and driving strike Sam, which I think is a logical conclusion.
Speaking of Sam, finds Horrorwind again. Polar Bear Mike gets his second kill of the game because of it. Now Panda Cat getting very deep in the left. Gets poked down by Guy J, who's still giving chase. Knowing there's no one really on the rotation just yet. But as I say that, just keep an eye on that mini-map as you see Pele and Khepri are swinging over there. But so is Snoopy. Horrorwind's having a bit of a tough time in that middle area too now after being taken 2 quick losses. And funny enough, I expected to be able to talk a little bit more about meta picks and stuff because no one really knows about it. But this has just been all action so far as Purple secured by Sam on the left.
11 kills in 11 minutes. We're keeping pace pretty nicely. You know who isn't keeping pace, though, is Snoopy. He's fallen a little bit behind in farm, and that's where just experience in the role, I think, really comes into play. Mike's played a million support games. He's been in games like this that are really, really just fight heavy, not a lot of time for farming, and is doing a good job of not taking too much away from his teammates. It's not like Twig is really far behind of Hurlwind or Sam is really far behind. It's not like he's oversharing, but he's getting enough farm to get himself in a very comfortable position. Whereas Snoopy probably a little bit more worried about being in the right place at the right time and less focused on his farm, and that matters a lot when you're playing something like the Hercules. So it's I don't think that Snoopy's making horrible errors by any means. It's just experience in the role really comes into play in games like this.
Yeah, where to take the farm from, who to take the farm from, can I get it solo, do I need to share it out a little bit more? Definitely causes a couple of problems for him. You see that ping down there? Just giving an idea that eUnited know there's a ward from Ghost Gaming around this red buff area here, just to make sure that they can try and keep eyes on the rotations coming through from Ghost and watch their path in. Root does connect again as Snoopy takes a bit more damage from Mike, who's playing the Khepri very aggressively so far today. Has taken a tumble once for it, but he has made a very big impact already in this one.
Blink Khepri is something that I love. It's a different sort of style. It's not as defensive, but this god can engage when he has the tools.
Yeah, I just wonder if he's maxing the abduct of this game, because there's definitely always a food for thought of is it the root or the abduction max? Obviously, after the blessing reduction. This game round, he's actually not gone for the blessing reduction at all, so it's just 1 point in that dot damage there for the protection. So maxing the root for the duration and maxing the abduct for the longer silence duration means these CCs from Khepri are even more potent than you may expect in the first half of the game.
I think it's really smart, because let's say you're up against someone like Hurwind in the mid lane, or even Snoopy. You blink pluck, Hurwind will beads and flicker away, and then you just root him, because the range is so long on Solar Flare. I think that this is the best way to play Khepri personally, not the super defensive, always in the back using my ultimate. I think using his incredible tools for engage with Blink really punishes non-CC immune characters very, very well. And Merlin included, Hercules included, and it lets you still be defensive later on in the game, but it lets you snowball really effectively early.
Guy getting engaged up, but immediately drops the ultimate to turn around and return damage to Sam, but Sam's having a good old boxing match. Great Aegis from Guy to avoid as much damage as possible. Still going to fall down though. eUnited a little bit late to the party, now trying to turn this around. Variety shows up with the teleport to try and get in action. Snoopy rude out, but throws out the boulder deep down, and that causes a couple of problems. Great peel from Mike again though. Panda Cat looks relatively safe until Variety still tries to close the gap a little bit more, but the axe was available to jump into form and get away again for all. Ghost Gaming get in, they strip away Guy J's life and managed to get out unscathed so far. Now Fine OK back in action, transforms, looking for a bit of damage out towards Hurwind, who doesn't have much of an escape here, and the damage might just be too much for him to survive. This Cthulhu ultimate lasts for such a long period of time, and sometimes the only way to kill him is to stop him is to just kill him, but that's a bit trickier said than done as Fine OK finally takes down Hurwind.
Do you think Hurry had any fun at all for that 15-second window? Just any of it. I mean, he turns around, throws some buttons out.
I like it when mages don't have fun. That makes me happy, so, I'm not going to be upset about it.
I don't. I feel for the man. I feel for the man that he just walked from Gold Fury to his Tier 2 and got hit by everything anyways. Maybe he could have beaten the knockup in order to get away, but I don't think that would have really mattered either. That's the difference between the Cthulhu and solo and the support Cthulhu that we've been seeing up until now. It's no way support Cthulhu has that amount of damage in order to bring him down. He was Final K was swiping for like 150 damage, and that's up every second and has incredible range. So this is the perfect Cthulhu solo game, and it's not an accident. Ghost Gaming are being aggressive on the left side of the map. They're not really paying attention to Final K at all on the right. They're just letting him get some free farm, and then he's allowed to rotate into these team fights and bring that damage and bring that dive. You want to talk about unpeelable dive. That's it. What do you ever do to save Hurwind as one of his teammates?
Nothing is the answer. There's not much you can do. Just leave him on an island and hope for the best. Maybe all I can really think about to try and deal with that is maybe like a Heavenly in the later stages of the game could try and just peel yourself away. But I think the bigger conversation really has been, everyone values Cthulhu right now. I think the pros can agree, the community agrees that Cthulhu is strong. But I just think the argument has been where he really fits. And for me, it looks a lot more dominant and potent in the solo lane over than the support role.
I think that he is good in support. I think that he brings pretty good kill pressure to your lane, even pre-5. I was talking a little bit with some pro players yesterday, and I think that the closest comparison that I can find with support, what the Cthulhu wants to do in support, is that he's really competing with Terra as this great backline dive, team fight ultimate character, and I think Terra might just be better once she has her ult.
Well, Sam's in trouble, but he's got a great ultimate out from Mike to just try and dissuade any further aggression from eUnited there, all for all exchange. Not too bad of a situation there for my liking for eUnited. The Gold Fury is about to respawn again soon. Will be that primal one. And knowing that we won't necessarily have Mike's ultimate available for that now, could be a big old play. Right, gonna just walk past Fine OK, realizing there's not much you can really do there in this matchup now. But speaking of objectives, Pyromancer started up by Ghost.
Snoopy on the way, as is Variety. Blink in from the Wukong, and a quick reset by Ghost is perfectly timed because Boulder was coming over the top.
Oh, eUnited losing this fight. Though. Look at Snoopy's health and Variety's health at the same time. Final K just boxing out with him quite happily and keeping Guy J and Horrywin busy too. There's the transformation again to the ultimate from Final K. He smells blood and it's Hercules he's after. Horrywin needs to just get out of the way if he can. Possibly as the knockup comes through too. Mike will get another kill. He is just kill stealing everything here today. Meanwhile, Sam now in for the dive too, but Variety, Jingu, Bang will take out Mike. And Sam ends up taking out Guy J as Horrywin will at least answer back onto Sam for soccer. Deaths everywhere, 3 for 2, as now the chase is on for Panda Cat, who's full health, but 2 big targets, and Scream's ultimate was available. That's going to really poison him down, but the damage out from Panda Cat, along with the tower, will at least push them back once more. That was all over a Pyromancer.
Yeah, just for fun, it seems like, as they want to keep pace into it. It's very important to them, clearly. 18 kills, 18 minutes, we're still good so far. And that's where the Cthulhu tankiness kind of comes back to haunt Ghost. I don't think that the rest of the team knew how long Fine would survive. Panda Cat won't survive at all because Scream hunts down his former teammate. I don't think the Cthulhu is really going to be able to chase out someone as mobile as Serket. But Fine kind of baits the whole team right there by diving that tier 1 and tier 2. They eventually get Snoopy, and they eventually get Guy J. But outside of that, the rest of the team has to come so far forward in order to help. And as you highlighted, no Scarab's Blessing for PBM because the play by Gold Fury by Scream means that play gets a little riskier, and Ghosts kind of take the bait. So if they want to dive a tier 1, tier 2 in order to kill the support, I think that eUnited is going to take that every time.
Pyromancer has gone down. Fury is available here. eUnited in a pretty good spot so far in this one. And you saw Mike talk pre-game as well about how we really feel about eUnited's performances. They've got a lot of ability here. I've not really had a chance to talk about Guy J just yet, but his performance so far this game, sure he might be 0-3, but he's holding his own, I feel like. Especially with the aggression we've seen out of Ghost so far. Primal Fury pulled. Polar Bear Mike and Final K on the front lines here. Not the 2 easiest targets to really deal with. Just keep an eye on Scream, trying to wrap around the back at the same time. Looking for the carry. Speaking of carries, Final K's looking for one. Beautiful grasp of death coming through from Twig. And good night, Horrorwind. We'll see you in 60 seconds, give or take. Next on the list could be Guy J, who's just trying to buy time. Juke out some of these swipes. Cthulhu is here. And your dreams are really just nightmares at this point. I don't think we're going to see Cthulhu for too long in the solo lane with plays like this.
No, he's kind of carrying these team fights, isn't he? Fine
Really
just creates so much space with that ultimate. It puts out a ton of damage as well. A great ultimate from Twig as well, but really that was Fine doing a lot of heavy lifting in the midst of all of that. And as you mentioned, what do you do against Cthulhu ultimate? Well, the only thing you can do is kill him.
Yep.
What about when there's a Kepri on his team? If you're gonna,
that's a good point.
It takes so much investment to kill a Cthulhu who's ulting because of all of that damage mitigation, that if he then gets a Scarab's Blessing and gets rezzed, you have absolutely lost that team fight. You've got no shot of coming back in it either. So it's a well-crafted composition here from Ghost. I really like what they put together.
I'm talking about Cthulhu just a little bit more. Obviously, when you look at the health bars of a god, you can see those little blue ticks or the red ticks above them. Each one of those is 100 health, right? When you see Cthulhu right now, that's a lot of little blobs there. That's a lot of health on this god, and that's down to that Stone of Gaia. So trying to just burst through that health bar, I'm really expecting if we see more of these health bills as the season continue, we're going to see more chins. We're going to have to see more Soul Reavers and, you know, the likes and Heartseekers just to try and get rid of some of these tanky targets in the late game.
Agreed. We already see the Soul Reaver here for Herwin. I don't think Guy J is really going to buy it. I can't imagine that he will. Looks like Guy might be going Divine, maybe. Yeah. Maybe he's going for Magus of his own. Don't think Deso really fits a whole lot for what Soul wants to do. CDR isn't really important on her because she's using auto attacks most of the time anyways at this point in the game. So it's either a second Magus, which is not horrible, or it's a Divine Ruin to try and deal with Sam on this Pele, who has a Soul Eater of his own. That anti-heal, not horrible against all the HP 5 that Final K has as well, courtesy of Gaia and the passive, but don't know what he's going for.
From Mike, will get the beads out from Guy J, who stands and fights, but now that Sam's here too, he's under even more pressure. Great Aegis to avoid some damage, gets the Disapparate off too. Sam's taking way more damage than bargained for, but guess who's there? It's Polar Bear Mike. But Polar Bear Mike is pulled under the tower by Scream. What a play from the lad. That sets up a double kill for Guy J, who survived a 3-man dive under that tier 2. Scream played that so well there, Ryan.
They all did. Guy J played it literal perfectly, and then Scream was right there to back him up. No such backup coming for Captain Twig. And here's the real test. Can Cthulhu actually 1v5? Looks like eUnited doesn't want to try and find out. They'll let Final K walk away in that gigantic state. As eUnited get 3 for nothing, this is and now with no ultimate for Final K, using that in a bad spot is a huge deal, because now this should be Fire Giant for eUnited. You got to try and take advantage.
And looking at the map, you can see them all starting to barrel that way straight away. 15 seconds left on Sam spawning. Twig down for another 20. Final Key did just use his ultimate too, so this is a trickier defense for them. Oliver, Mike, and Panda Cat will be around. Don't think Mike will be there in time at the moment, but the damage is taking a bit of time from eUnited. A bit longer than bargained for. Focuses on the Cthulhu instead. They're all in him in the Fire Giant pit, but this is buying time for Panda Cat to arrive on the scene. Snoopy on zone duty, trying to keep him away as now Polar Bear Mike arrives too. Looking for the steal away. Can they find the shot in time? Great bit of peel out from Snoopy there, I feel, with variety in tow. Panda Cat now falls, and eUnited have the Fire Giant and are looking in a good position.
And this is a huge deal for eUnited to be playing this well against Ghost, who looked absolutely dominant earlier on this week. It answers a big question, at least temporarily for me. How can eUnited build with this team's environment? Who's going to be the leader? Are they all going to be on the same page? Because Genetics, even though he struggled mechanically because of the playing situation, having to play from Europe on NA servers, brought a lot of leadership to that team and a lot of shot calling. And with Guy J being added in, Snoopy going over to support, how much communication is going to be there? Are they all going to be on the same page? And that play is one that you have to all be on the same page on. Who's doing Fire Giant? How much damage are we putting on it? Are we pulling off at all? What's our target focus? That was all perfect from them. It was bait Final K until he overcommits, then Snoopy turns, pushes him, they all in the solo laner, and then great communication between Variety, Snoopy, and the backline on when they're allowed to start bursting, because they've got CC coming for Panda Cat. So that was impressive and a good sign for eUnited.
Well, as we were talking there, you saw Captain Twig have to use the Grasp of Death. Defensively, they're a little bit worried about Scream, but a forced ultimate from eUnited definitely pays off now to get some of these towers down even easier. Ghosts are going to have a harder time defending, not having that ultimate up for themselves. As we now turn their attention towards this tier 2 tower in the mid lane. 5 men strong, eUnited moving as a team, and Ghost on the back foot from arguably just some good decision making and good plays from eUnited to answer back the aggression from Ghost. Mike and Final K at the front, not really going to be able to stop this at all. It's going to be a Phoenix defense situation for them now.
It's a lot of gold that eUnited's going to peel off the map here on the way. I mean, Pyromancer, a tier 2 tower, all of that. I mean, they've still got 2 minutes on this Fire Giant. They could even go for Primal Fury if they wanted to, instead of trying to siege this tier 2 on the right. eUnited's got some options, but it's not going to end the game on this Fire Giant, it looks like. It looks like Ghost is going to agree that they can't defend the tier 2 on right, and eUnited is going to give up the Primal Fury in order to earn as much map control as possible, which I think is the right decision here for eUnited. You want to make sure that you can really expose these Phoenixes, but that means they're going to have to earn another Fire Giant. This one's not going to end it looks like.
And with that, eUnited will go back to base, spend up all that gold in hand that you can see in the inventory, see some more of these builds develop. And we've not really had a chance to talk about builds, right, with how fast this game's been so far. But has anything really stood out to you so far today? I mean, we've seen a lot of this different itemization coming through here or there. Is anything surprising you at all?
Not really. I think that the build that Sam has gone for is a little bit interesting because of the Soul Eater and Sledge. Normally, Pele likes to go something like Shifters. Looks like Sam has gone away from that, going back towards the Soul Eater after its buffs. I like Sam's build quite a bit. I like where Scream has gone, though I'm not sure on this Gladiator shield that he's picked up. Glad shield obviously getting a lot of changes from what we knew it as before. Now a true tier 3 item, not a tier 2. I just don't think this passive is very good. I just don't think it's going to do that much actual damage, but I think its stat distribution is pretty good, and I bet you that's why Scream's picking it up more so than the passive.
We'll see how it utilizes it and if it continues on, because, you know, God picks so far this year. What a time to be alive when Giannis is getting banned away from someone in the Pro League in the first phase.
Listen, man,
like,
it's Heroin. Okay,
it's Heroin.
That's
I was
all,
going to say, full respect
is.
to Hurry for getting that. Like, Giannis of all gods, he's like one of the worst performing gods in the game overall. And yet one of the pro players now gets banned against him for it when there's the likes of Persephone of it. Crazy days. Crazy.
Yeah. I think Hurry's earned it for sure with how dominant he's been on that pick. And speaking of the Persephone, a lot of the conversation early on was, can Twig prove that he's scary enough on this pick to continually ban it away? He's second from the top in player damage, but I don't think we've really seen enough out of this Persephone quite yet. Just knowing what she can do in fights, I do think that Twig has been a little bit lackluster on the pick overall.
Is some of that, though, really down to how, like, the map's been played because of the pace of it? Like, you've not really been able to set up that farm, you know? You're not able to have as many plants around you the whole time, even minute one getting ganked. It kind of puts him on a back foot already because a couple of the kills we've seen Twig die for have been in the jungle where he's not really had a plant situation set up for him, where Persephone really, thrives, in my opinion.
It's a good point. I think that it is important to note that Persephone really thrives in slower-paced games where she can set up gardens and have a whole bunch of plans set up around an objective and bait people in. These faster-paced fights are not ideal for her, but if she's as strong as every pro player seems to think she is, I think that you do need to get some more value either way.
Fire Giant spawns again. It's pre-30 minutes, so it's not an enhanced one just yet, but the battle over it could take enough time for that to actually trigger. As Snoopy was busy dealing with that ward there, he takes way more damage than bargained for. Huge grasp of death coming through, but still Snoopy alive for a while. Final K will now get credit for the kill, as now he marches on, looking for a bit more damage, swooping closer, pops the ultimate, looking for a good knock-up in the channeled area. Will find only Snoopy there, as the carries are back within the safety of the tier 2 tower. eUnited lose a bad trade there for my liking, but it does cost Ghost Gaming a little bit in terms of ultimates.
Yeah, they use some, and Grasp of Death being one, Cthulhu being the other, really big ult on their side, but still, to pick Snoopy clean, get Variety's ultimate, that's a good setup here for Ghost. And again, that comes back to inexperience in my mind.
Fine, okay, is going to end up dying there. No, he's not, of course, because Polar Man Mike is available. Horrywin, though, getting pinched on this right-hand side as he tried to help out Variety, but Variety's cheeky little Blink Tiger form takes out Sam. He's going to be on the runaway from Fine, okay, who's trying to close the gap now. Is the Myra available? I'm not so sure, so Variety should be able to bird form away in time, as we've now got a 3-on-4 situation, with no one really feeling too confident about the FG. I expect everyone to fall back for a second, and that will mean we might be looking at an enhanced Fire Giant coming through in the next fight.
And with Variety having that TP upgraded, just comes right back in. Gaijay's here and has a lot of damage. This is a great pull here for eUnited, but they're on a clock. They don't have a lot of time before Ghost is back.
Fine, okay, TP'd around the back, and you've also got Panic Out on the other side too, but Panic Out engaged on by Snoopy. Fine, okay, trying to keep the damage dealers at bay. Fire Giant getting very low, great knock-up out from Variety to push him away, and the Jingu Bang looks like that's secured for eUnited. But what about the fight after the fact? Snoopy's running away for his life. Variety's clone is doing good work to slow them down, cause a distraction. Everybody from eUnited gets away. And that is a great play again from eUnited. They are looking good here today.
They are, and the communication's good again with Final K coming around the back. That's a scary situation. eUnited able to still make a coherent call on what they wanted to do. Gaijay's natural instincts took over a little bit there. He starts backing out of the Fire Giant pit, and then clearly someone from eUnited is saying, we've got to secure it, we've got to burn it, and Gaijay comes back in and is able to help out with that and securing it over Ghost Gaming. So now they've earned that second Fire Giant that we were a little bit worried about. This is a good spot for eUnited. I think that the Soul pick hasn't been super impressive to me. I think Gaijay's played well. I just don't know that how good the God looks to me.
Sure.
But right there, that was a situation where we see one of Soul's strengths, which is her auto attack damage really is through the roof when it comes to objectives.
I think the one thing about Sol, though, it just gives you that extra level of safety with that Disapparate, and I think Guy's played the God well to allow him that time. You see, I feel like it's a good transitional God for when you're entering the Pro League and trying to get comfortable in my eyes, because you get that little bit of extra safety, and his relic usage has been so good. It's allowed him to be at least instrumental in this game, because I feel it comes down to that dive on Gaijay at that tier 2, where this game started to tilt a little bit into eUnited's favor, because that ended up setting up that Fire Giant eventually.
Agreed, and not many gods besides Soul could have made that play. I think that that's a pretty good argument for the God. It just feels like she doesn't do that much damage, though, in comparison to what we've seen like Freya and Kronos do. It just doesn't seem like it does.
Variety and Scream combined on this right-hand side to split the map in half complete, but with San really turning it around. Oh my god, that grasp of death hit beautifully in time and takes out Scream before he had an answer back whatsoever. What a play from Twig across the map there to support a very dangerous situation for Ghost Gaming. And now it's Ghost on the offensive. Here we go again, says Fine OK. Let me get to the carries, but Guy J standing and banging with the best of them. Doesn't realise Twig's around the corner as now Snoopy, Hurry and Variety have to fall back. I thought that looked good from eUnited for a minute, but Ghost on defense come through huge.
That was a little bit of serendipity there for Kath and Twig, but you gotta give them credit where it's due, man. What a fantastic ultimate mid-death bane. And Scream, I'm sure, very displeased with how that turned out, because it trapped him in the middle of one of the fastest abilities in all of Smite. But it was easy for Twig. Look, even if he doesn't hit...
want to see.
Yeah, even if he doesn't hit him...
Oh, the corners! Are you joking me? He threaded the needle between that area? That's insane. And he gets the Deathbane too. Great play.
That's hot.
Awesome.
That's hot.
That's really good.
I don't know if it would have caught him. That's the thing. I think that might have actually, with the changes, how the vines actually have to extend to you now, and it's not nearly as instant for them to snap.
It had to be bang on, right?
I think it had to hit. Initially, I thought maybe it wouldn't need to be, but after watching it again, I think it absolutely had to land perfectly. But luckily for Ghost, Twig knew it as well and hit it perfectly.
I mean, that's just God-given talent right there, you know. We've seen Twig talking about it before, and let's be honest, that's exactly what that was. Beautiful play, and now we're still here at 33 minutes. This game's still balancing on a knife edge for me. Sure, eUnited have got a couple of Tier 2 towers still standing. However, with the pace of the game and a couple of deaths here or there, they won't last very long with these respawn timers getting longer and longer now between the two. But this is the best I've really felt eUnited have looked in a while, in my opinion. And more importantly for me, it's Variety and Scream. When those two step up, we know the caliber those two can play at. If they're on the same page and swinging the way they have been so far this set, this is a dangerous looking team.
Agreed. That's exactly where I was going to go. eUnited looks the best they have so far, and it's not a coincidence that this combined slash lines out of the right side of the map are 9, 1, and 11. That is much better than what we've seen from this side of the map from eUnited basically all year. I know all the changes are happening in duo, but I think a lot of the success of this team is going to revolve around how those two play. Because as you said, their ceiling is so high. I mean, these two have been considered the best in their role in their region before, and it's not like it was that long ago. They've been that good.
And synergies is just an important thing. These guys have spent more time together now after that first phase here. Sure, adjustments here and there, but now you're looking at Guy J on this left-hand side being chased down by Fine OK. Horrorwind has to leave him and say, Godspeed, my friend, you're on your own for now. Beautiful burst from Pandacat around the corner, and that sets up the kill for Fine OK. They should be able to secure this one. No help available for Guy J. Next to this could be Horrorwind now, as both the carries of eUnited just caught out of position. Were they really out of position? Who knows? The chase still on though, as Cthulhu's ultimate will last a lifetime, as will the dreams and memories and disappointment with how this game is about to turn. I feel on a knife edge here. Tier 2 tower in the mid lane now going to get stripped down here. Fire Giant available. Phoenix could be on the cards first though.
Seems like eUnited was trying to spring a trap on Ghost, and then they don't just all back in unison. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why they were there at all.
Variety just trying to frontline it, eats more damage than bargain for, forced to ult. Scream goes in on Twig. Good shell comes into play though to top him back up and keep him surviving a little bit longer as the boulder comes through from Snoopy off the mark. Scream might be able to pick up Captain Twig, but look at the throne room. The Titan could be under threat right about now too. It's only Variety here on defense trying to stop 4. Can he do it though is the question.
Scream coming in the back, though, going to try and give him some assistance. Variety's already fallen, but Scream is going to grab both to the Cobra's Kiss, a double kill for the jungler. And
is he
right
surviving?
on time for Guy J. eUnited has to hold.
And Polar Bear Mike's gonna fall, but look at the respawn time. It's 60 seconds plus 40 seconds on Captain Twig, the first one up. Do you go for the end, Ryan, or do you go for FG? FG, right?
You end. I think you can end. I mean, 30 seconds on Twig, he's going to be up. You don't have a frontliner, you don't have a wave. Maybe you're right. Maybe you do go fire. I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's close.
You can get a Phoenix. I agree with a Phoenix for sure. That's
But you got Merlin.
Okay,
Merlin's like the best mage DPS in the game for Titan.
Twig's got no relics as well. He has his ultimate, but no relics. So if you can land another amazing ultimate on respawn, he might be able to save the day, but you might be right, you know. Oh, this is taking longer than bargain for, though. They can't.
Yeah,
There's no way.
I don't think so. They've got a wave, actually.
They're going.
I'll find this call. Go for it.
Here we go. Into the room. Scream. Ultimate straight away on Twig. Twig no ultimate, remember. Looking for an ultimate of his own to turn it around. Guy J takes his life and the Titan under threat. Fine, okay, back in action. Can he body block enough of this damage? Or are eUnited going to scrape this one away? They will. eUnited from death's door. Hold on to take game 1 after Ghost put all their chips down that middle lane at the end. Okay. We're going to sit on our hands. I'm down for this.
Scream the GOAT, dude. I don't know. It feels like eUnited, even through all of their struggles, phase 1, how many times did Heroine defend the Titan and Scream defend the Titan, and then they turn it around and make great plays? You just don't go for eUnited's Titan when it's close, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I think it was within 1,000 HP for eUnited. Then eUnited barely end, and it's Merlin who makes the difference. Despite all the nerfs to that character, no other mage ends the game better than Merlin.
Absolutely crazy game 1. We've still got at least one more to go, though. If United can close this out, this is going to change things up massively. Because Ghost won the mid-season tournament, too. They were champions of Phase 1. And now they're already on the ropes against an eUnited team that are looking great. Let's get over to Dave and Myth, though, to see what they saw in that first game.
My God, from death's door, eUnited turned this one around. Hats off to them. Finally get themselves a win here in Phase 2, and I was watching this one in comfort, guys, and admittedly, I've completely run out of ideas for a chair ad, so I bought a little robot thing. It's going to help me hopefully sell this chair to you guys. Let's make sure it's calibrated. I have a little speaker here to amplify it. Echo, who is the most handsome caster? Let's see. Yep. Aggro, Hindu. Literally anyone but you. All right, rude, but maybe no lies detected there. Echo, what is the best chair brand?
What a dumb question, Dave. You should know better. It is obviously Maxnomic.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, look, rude, but still spot on. Echo, what code can the people use for free embroidery?
Use code SMITE for free embroidery at needforseek.com.
Hey, no lies detected once again. 3 for 3 here so far from the Echo Dot. One final question. Free embroidery. I don't know what to get put on my chair. Maybe the sales bot can help me. Echo, what should I get embroidered on my chair?
Based on your incognito browsing history, scantily clad Harris.
Okay, all right. Whoa. We don't need any of that. Nope. We don't need any of that. But sales bot complete. We'll maybe use this one a little bit more here in the future. Mifflin, incognito browsing habits aside, what goes wrong here? Ghost Gaming keep themselves in it towards the end, nearly win the game, and then eUnited turn it around.
Look, when you get towards such a small play at the end there, the minutia which you really have to get into, if Ghost Gaming clear out one more tower, that Titan dies. If Captain Twig decides to move forward instead of backwards and doesn't give himself up to Scream, the Titan dies. There's so many ways that Ghost could have played it just slightly better, but even then, they played it nearly perfect. It all really comes down to eUnited having a fantastic defense off the back of Scream, who I'd say had a fantastic game in general. In the early, it was 100% Scream versus Sam for Soccer. These guys were duking it out for map pressure, and I would say Scream was coming out ahead the entirety of the time.
Yeah, I mean, early and often here from Scream is really what you need to look at. Guy J benefits a nice double kill here. And honestly, and this is not a slight against Hurrywin, Snoopy, or Guy J at all, because I think they all had fine games. But you look towards the end, you know, pushing 15 to 20 deaths, somewhere in that range. I forget the exact number. 95% of those are spread between the three guys who are dead in this clip, Hurrywin, Snoopy, and Guy J. Scream and Variety had a massive game here this time around. Cannot understate this play here. In Mifflin, I think this is exactly what we've wanted to see from this eUnited squad. The clear shot calling and execution down the stretch. Yeah, look at the post-game stats. 2 deaths total between Variety and Scream. 6, 6, and 7 for Hurrywin, Snoopy, and Guy J comparatively. Again, not a slight against those three, but a dominant performance out of the solo lane in the jungle here for eUnited. You got to be happy, Mifflin, I think, with the call there, especially at the end. That's a gutsy call to push for the end with the respawn timers very close for Ghost.
I think it was, and I think really it came down to eUnited weren't going to go in for the end until Captain Twig decided to throw out the Grasping Death, and it wasn't able to connect. Had Grasping Death been available for the Titan defense at point-blank range, where you can't miss it, it would have been a lot harder for them to look for that end. Just a slight misplay from Captain Twig, trying to go for the more optimized play of playing it safe and make sure that they stop the push before it even gets in towards the Titan, but at the same note, opens them up towards a loss.
A couple of big, I think, takeaways here, Mifflin, pick and ban-wise, I think that we need to look at. Cthulhu out of the solo lane looked great. And again, it's another game where this Cthulhu kind of dominates. Right there towards the end, we're watching this game in the other room, and we're thinking, all right, I guess FineOK can just walk at Gaijay. So I think Cthulhu now has to be prioritized somewhere by eUnited, whether it's a pick away for Snoopy or taking it away from FineOK. But what are your thoughts on Sol and what we've seen from her so far here this weekend? Because it is a win for Sol here in this case. I'm not sure it was because of Sol, not in spite of Sol either. But where do you think she kind of stands in this hierarchy of magical ADCs after a few data points?
Well, I'm going to have to directly quote Aggro here. Sol is the master of none, jack of all trades, right? She's going to be able to deal probably the best objective damage insofar as towers. Wait, no, that's Kronos. Well, at least she's got good kill potential. Wait, no, that's Olaron and Freya. Well, survivability might go the way of Sol. No, Freya, again, she's got a Beads and an Aegis inside of her ultimate. But Sol is still incredibly strong because of the new itemization.
Yep.
She just doesn't shine above any of the other picks in any regard.
Yeah, if you can build Ring of Hecate on him, maybe worth picking up anyway. We'll see where Sol is prioritized in picks and bans for game number 2. It's actually Ghost Gaming, believe it or not, the one's trying to bounce back here in game 2 after a gutsy defense into a gutsy call right down the middle lane for eUnited to take game number 1 in 37 minutes. It was a Wukong and a Hercules prioritized early for eUnited with so many power picks still available. We were certainly surprised about that. I think your biggest takeaway after the first phase of bans, Mifflin, before game number 1 was that Persephone was still available. You know, it was okay, maybe, if I'm kind of dancing around the issue there. I'm not sure Ghosts are going to be feeling quite as confident, though, going immediately back to that Persephone.
I think Persephone might fall by the wayside. If we don't see it banned, I would still prefer to see Twig go towards something he's a lot more comfortable on, a la Raijin. As far as eUnited, Snoopy's slash line might not have reflected it, but that Hercules play was immaculate. He was finding blink pools consistently, constantly the first one inside of the team fights, constantly finding priority targets in the back line. He played it incredibly well, even if the slash line doesn't reflect. I think it was 1 in 6, but his impact on the actual match just was inordinate. It was so immense, and I think that eUnited are going to continue looking for that Herc.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. I think Snoopy has moved his way into the support role pretty well, all things considered. Certainly not easy to swap roles like that, especially when you're playing at the highest level of Smite the world has to offer here. So hats off to Snoopy after game number 1, and looked good on the Cthulhu early on here this weekend. Bans looking somewhat similar here, Mifflin. Sol, the notable takeaway by Ghost. Stylianis off the table for Hurrywin, so we'll have to see something different in the mid lane. Still feeling comfortable, though, going back to that Persephone. I suppose the potential, the ceiling is so high that, you know, maybe you just chalk it up to an off game there in game number 1, get yourself something powerful for Captain Twig in the mid lane. There were some Persephone ultimates that kind of kept Ghost in the game when they're back defending their Phoenix line. So I guess you can't slight him for picking the potential in what Persephone brings.
Yeah, she's still just an incredibly strong character, and we can't ignore the fact that he did get off to a very rough start to a bit of a cheeky early gank in the mid lane while he's trying to set up his seeds. If he avoids that death, the game could have been turned around completely and just had him body out from minute 1. Instead, now I imagine we're going to see him play a lot more passively before the minions spawn, play a lot more safely, and maybe have to sacrifice planting out some of those minions, but it should be fine.
Well, Hercules locked in here for eUnited, but I have the sneaking suspicion it's in a different role here, as Yamoja is also locked in. So I'm going to take an educated guess here, and whatever that's worth for me saying it, and say that it's Yamoja over there for Snoopy. Again, a similar start to the draft for Ghost as well, but they're going to swap out their support Khepri for a support Horus here, and you talk about kill pressure in a lane, Miff, when you pair an Ullr with a Horus. Level 1, you're immediately not safe if you're eUnited.
Yeah, you got it. In level 2, you're essentially dead. The dash stun into a knock-up, into an axe stun, into however many abilities Uller feels like throwing out while intermittently throwing in autos as well. That's a ton of kill pressure. I love the draft so far from Ghost because it's really leaning into their strengths as a team. These guys are constantly looking to fight as early on as they can, and right now their draft is matching that.
Cupid here as well. So Mifflin, I think Cupid's an interesting talking point. We saw Veneno on the Cupid a little bit there yesterday in the mid lane, and admittedly in a loss, I think the Cupid actually looked pretty good. It was the, if I'm remembering correctly, kind of Transcendence immediately into Failnaught, immediately into Atalantis Bow, and he was swinging. Veneno was looking good on this Cupid here yesterday. What do you think the merits of this god are here for eUnited and why they might prioritize him?
Well, it is a fantastic ultimate insofar as it's going to create a zone where either you force Ghost Gaming to use Heavenly Agility or something along those lines to avoid the Fields of Love, or you could just use it in the middle of an objective fight towards Fire Giant Confirm and make sure that no one's able to walk in. I think Cupid brings a lot of variety to your team as well because he is a healer. Some people sleep on the fact that those hearts really are just constant sustain at no mana cost to Cupid. That said, this god is very contingent on how well you're willing to coordinate with the rest of your team. Fields of Love is not an easy ability to hit, despite being one of the largest circular ultimates in the game.
You're right, it requires the rest of the team to be on the same page there. Another Merlin here for eUnited, so strong in their first four, but it continues to be the Panda Cat and Sam for Soccer show in the ban column for eUnited. Nemesis, Awilix, Hunpats all taken away, and then Panda Cat identified in the first couple of bans for eUnited. Not that it slowed down Sam any. I mean, Pele just as good a pick, it seems, as any of the others. Another Cthulhu looking like for Fine OK once more here, and despite the loss in Game 1, I still think it's a great power pick here for Game number 2. Mulan would be interesting, Miff. If we're taking a page out of Sanguine's book, it was Mulan support and Cthulhu out of the solo lane. Do you think we might see that again?
I'm not a huge fan of Horus jungle, so I think it would have to be Mulan in the jungle here. And with Golden Blade, it's going to make it a lot easier to clear out the buffs, even though you kind of need to use your abilities on buffs in Mulan jungle just to get that passive stacked up. I'm not a huge fan of the pick in general, but her gank potential is certainly there. The third ability is going to set you up pretty well, or whoever you need to, at least burning some beads. Ultimate's going to be either a decent escape or engage, whichever way you want to go. But Mulan into Cupid isn't a particularly hard matchup, and eUnited have that synergy between Yamoja and Cupid as well. With the Yamoja ult dropping down, you're stuck there in Fields of Love.
All these flex picks got your boy all confused here on the desk, and a Naja to round out the draft here for eUnited. Mifflin. Flex picks, interesting compositions aside. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to fully predict what we're going to see, but I am going to ask you to predict who you think is going to win here in game number 2.
I don't think Ghost Gaming goes back to this very similar style of draft without a certain plan. I think that this set is really going to be Game 3 bound. I'm going to give this one to Ghost Gaming. And you know what? I will predict the game. First blood at 4 minutes, 26 seconds. You got it, Dave.
All right. Something's going on here. I don't know what it is. 4:26. Keep your eyes on the clock. Indu, aggro. Take it away.
Thanks a lot, Dawson. And Mifflin on the desk too. Right, what's incognito mode? I didn't get it.
Oh, I'll explain it to you when you're older.
I can't get much older, man. Like,
yeah, that's the point.
Possible.
I'm hoping that I don't have to explain it ever.
Oh, you're hoping my age will make me forget. I probably will, to be honest.
Correct.
Start the game, though, looking in with the picks and bans. I'm really shocked they let Cthulhu through here, right? I'm a bit surprised by that. The only adjustment I can really see that might try and cause some more problems for this Cthulhu is this Yamoja ultimate. The River's Rebuke could technically keep him trapped inside it to stop the chase, but that means you're kind of holding it defensively a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that that's a good idea, but I don't know how often it's really going to work for eUnited. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't just go Yamoja Cthulhu and give the Cthulhu over to Variety, but based on the prioritization of what eUnited has picked so far this weekend and the way that they played this picks and bans, it seems like if someone's going to be playing Cthulhu, it's going to be Snoopy. So if you're going to pick Yamoja, that takes that out of the equation. Maybe they feel like the Hercules can bring a little bit more kill potential in this lane in comparison to something like the Wukong. We'll have to wait and see.
That's fair. In the early game, I definitely think there's a chance that Cthulhu could lose a 1v1 to the Hercules, but I do feel this duo lane is definitely a big ask from eUnited here. Up against the Horus and the Ul, I would say this matchup against a Cupid and Yamoja in the early stages definitely favors Ghost Gaming here. It's just how much of a lead they can really develop as we look at Sam in mid lane blinking in. Beautiful sash from screen to slow it down, but it won't be enough as Sam for Soccer gets first blood on this Mulan. Back to the dual lane we go, and Guy J lost all his health again from the combo from Panda Cat. Snoopy has to body block a couple of those autos though to keep Guy J topped up for now. This is what I expected in duo.
And this is what Ghost really excels at, is just really putting the pedal to the metal earlier than most teams do in the SPL. And you see Heroine get caught off guard by Mulan. Jungle damage in the mid lane, I think that is a valuable part of picking something like Mulan in jungle, is that how familiar are mid laners with her level 2 burst damage output? You know, every mid laner knows exactly how much damage Thor can do to them at level 2. They probably don't know exactly how much damage Mulan and how quickly she can put it out. I think that this character is really undervalued. I like her a lot in jungle. I think she does way more damage than people really give her credit for. She has pretty good lockdown. Her slow is very strong on the spear thrust. I like this pick for Sam quite a bit, and it's the perfect style for when the last game you kind of got baited into this big brawl fest where you just fought a whole lot early game. Get a warrior who's going to be able to really brawl effectively from minute 1, I think makes a lot of sense.
Definitely, and funny enough, I do want to turn towards the Cupid pick for Guy J here. Cupid's been on the rise as of late, but I did like his draft selection here of Cupid into the first 3 picks we saw out from Ghost Cayman, because I think that was a big key here. I mean, it was Persephone, Ul, and Horus. All 3 of those are going to have real bad issues with this Fields of Love that could really shut them down in the teamfight stages. But then the Mulan added to this just allows them to, you know, necessarily not all get stuck in that and maybe stop the aggression coming through, give their teammates time to get out of that Fields of Love. I want to see this one play out a little bit more, but I just know the early game is going to be a tough task.
Agreed. This laning phase is going to be very hard because Uller Horus is some of the absolute best kill potential for any 2v2, let alone up against someone like Cupid who really struggles most of the time at this point in the game. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've seen a lot of Cupid, though, in games where Persephone gets let through. It feels like teams might think that shutting down Flourish might have a pretty big impact.
Oh!
It's a fantastic
You couldn't be caught that! Oh my god. Okay, sorry, I just lost my mind.
No, it's alright.
Second
There's no justice in this world that Snoopy had Omi left and survived. Like, if there were any justice at all, Sam would have gotten that kill because that was sick.
He didn't deserve the kill. Sash out from Scream, though, looking for a bit of a play on Polar Bear Mike, who did get hit by the Heart Bomb. But the Heart Bomb's not doing a whole ton just yet. Doesn't look like we're going to see the double transcendences coming out from the 2 Hunters, though, although you can see the Hunter's Blessing pick up early on for Cupid here. Is that just to help a little bit more with that wave clear and a bit more sustain, I guess, for that, you know, those hearts?
Mana sustain is really, really good with Hunter's Blessing, so it helps out him. It helps him out quite a bit.
Big play in mid lane. Look at the damage out from Sam out for Soccer. I mean, Twig was there, but that Grasp of Death out the market, he wasn't even needed. Just the damage from the cross strike there, really whittling him down. It's fine, okay. Transforming, looking for some pressure onto Variety. Can't really dive the tower at this point, though. Not healthy enough to feel that burden just yet. As Variety will be fine in this lane, but he did trade out ultimates a little bit earlier on.
This feels like a big win for eUnited that they get Cthulhu ult in exchange for Boulder. I mean, Boulder is great. It gives you fantastic kill potential in this lane, but you compare it to how transformative Cthulhu Ultimate is, literally, it's night and day in terms of actual effectiveness. So the fact that they trade ultimates is a good play by Variety, and now it's relying on Scream to come over and set him up for a gank.
And not just Scream, but Polar Bear Mike has been drawn some attention to this right-hand side too. Just maybe trying to help out Fine OK while he's at a bit more of a vulnerable state here. And especially with Sam for Soccer being a little bit low, he went back to base, so sending Mike here makes a lot of sense. Snoopy transitioning towards the middle lane here, placing some deep hold wards to keep an eye on that red buff. And now Twig is going to get caught out of position for a second. Still has a Flourish available, but beautiful stun from Snoopy to just telegraph the situation, finds a secondary stun too. But the damage not there just yet, as Mike now ulting towards mid lane on his own. Cancel that, in place, change his mind.
Just trying to hide the fact that he was ulting, but I think Scream heard it either way. So don't get a chance to conceal that information, but I think that is a pretty smart play if you realize you're not going to need it. Why give the enemy the knowledge that your ultimate is on cooldown? So far, this mid lane has really struggled for eUnited. Whirlwind has really just been caught twice by Sam for soccer, and because of it is a big lead for Captain Twig on this Persephone. And when Persephone gets ahead like this, it feels impossible to stay in lane because she can use Flourish a little bit more aggressively, knowing that she's going to win the trade so hard that Whirlwind is really going to have a tough time staying in lane from here on out.
And we'll see how Twig can do on this one this time around. He's had a bit of a tougher game last one. We saw a couple of good grasps of death out from him. But the tail of the tape definitely changed based off the first game. Didn't die for first blood here. He set up a bit more of a farm and now has a bit of a comfortable lead now. We'll see what he can make use of this. His right-hand side, just look at where Scream's positioned. Behind the tier 1 tower, ping's going down. Looks like a gank attempt was trying to be set up on the Cthulhu, but fine, okay. Seems to have sniffed out the danger a bit earlier on there. So pressure relieved already. Just a little look at the minimap.
It's not an easy gank to make once FineOK has that ultimate back up, and he does, so it makes sense to me that Scream is going to try and play this one a little bit more slowly. I don't know how much I love the Naja pick here. The final selection for eUnited. Scream had such a fantastic game on that Circuit. You don't necessarily have to run it back exactly, but I just don't know if Naja is really going to bring enough to this composition. You don't have that fantastic follow-up that we often look for. It just feels a little awkward.
Blinking from Sam again, looking for pressure onto Variety. Great grapple too, but Variety healthy enough to heal it back up and mitigate wounds at the tail end. Not a whole lot of damage out from FineOK, but Polar Bear Mike on this right-hand side too has been joined by Snoopy and Scream as the blue buff fight begins. Into the sky goes Cthulhu before the ultimate is available. Hurrywin rotating round. River's Rebuke dropped down by Snoopy though to cause a couple of problems as Mike channeling the ultimate back up and down away from the danger. Sam for soccer on his own though, bit too deep. He was looking for a kill onto Hurrywin, but it looks like Scream might be able to pick this one up. Aim blinks Mike though, and actually just going to avoid a bit of that damage from the fracture to stay alive as Guy J takes a fight on the left-hand side. Ring toss slows down the targets, and Sam's going to fall eventually here unless he can just buy time and die to a tower. Mike going to end up falling down to Variety, is now still in action, is Captain Twig, but he's out of mana. These are two tanks who are low on health though. Variety might just die if he's not careful by sticking around this close. Where's the heals? She shouts for Snoopy, but Snoopy not going to be there. The bait was good enough to keep Twig interested. The passive online though for Twig. Can he find a kill with the bone rush? Not this time round. Jukes them all out. And that's going to be the end. Oh no, he got him at the end. The power of Persephone again.
So close by Snoopy. That was actually such a good idea. You can body block the auto attack coming for the plant in order to make sure that that plant doesn't explode. That's really the play that he tried to make, but it blocked the first one. Second one snuck through. Wonder if Snoopy did have enough Omi at that point to toss a Mending Waters out that might have been able to save Hurry. But that's what Persephone does. Nothing you can really do about that. But a fantastic play by eUnited to defend that blue buff. They get a ton of value out of it. Twig got a little bit unlucky because he got pushed out of the realm of that wall coming from the Emoja ultimate. And then that meant the Grasp of Darkness just slammed straight into the Emoja ult instead of actually doing a whole lot useful in that engagement. And I was just saying, I don't know if Scream's ultimate's going to get enough value, but it did enough right there for eUnited.
It did. I'm not so sure about the ultimate for Naja though. I think it might be more to do with the ring toss of, the slow effect being consistent, just allowing them to maybe keep them trapped in the River's Rebuke a little bit longer, maybe have a chance for that Fields of Love as the game goes on. I'm trying to understand the thought process a little bit more, but talking about builds real quick, Twig on that mid lane did go for Divine Ruin early on, which doesn't really surprise me here. A lot of sustain coming out from eUnited, I would say, as this game continues, especially with Naja and Hercules on the team. But not only that, obviously the healing that Emoji's going to bring. Guy J on the left-hand side is getting pressured here.
And this is because both beads are down in this duo lane, so both teams know that the enemy hunter is vulnerable. And good blink from Sam. Snoopy had the right idea with that ultimate, but just couldn't put Sam in combat soon enough to prevent it.
Definitely a wombo combo available with the Fields of Love too, with that River's Rebuke, thinking about it. So maybe that's something that we'll see eUnited look for as this game goes on, but Guy J didn't really want to go aggressive there. We did see Panda Cat lose his beads in that little skirmish on the left-hand side earlier on, and he's having to play a bit more passive, and Mike's now showing his face too, but did a good chunk of damage towards Scream, who's level 10 at the moment. Polar Bear Mike going to blink on in, and blink for blink exchange. No real surprises there, as the minion wave now cleared up by Ghost on this left-hand side.
It's a little surprising that Mike decides to go on top of Panda. Maybe he thought Guy J was going to be coming around the corner and dropping that Fields of Love, but I think if PBM just lands behind Scream after that axe landed, that should have been a kill for Ghost, but might have also selected his landing target before the axe landed from Panda Cat. But either way, Panda's able to get the beads back up, which is really the main concern in this matchup between Uller and Cupid is, do I have my beads up? And it's true for both hunters, because both of them really need it.
Guy J still standing up, eats an axe, and half his health is gone, but will have hearts to heal back up one more time. And this is a very defensive matchup now once the lane phase has started to be left into a 1v1 for those two hunters there. And yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think the one interesting thing about Polar Bear Mike's play there, I mean, keeping Blink off of Scream is probably more fortuitous, so pays off for them more in the long run. So by just forcing that Blink out, it definitely pays off a little bit more, I feel, unlike Scream being a bit of a disadvantage on some of these engages for a while.
Absolutely. Scream is going to have a much harder time getting on to people like Persephone and Uller without that blink available, but so far he's only ulted once and it's been on a frontliner. So if that is the game plan, if the game plan is we're hitting front lines with this ultimate, then maybe losing that blink isn't such a big deal for him at this point. We'll have to wait and see what kind of style he wants to go for. There's multiple different ways you can play Najash. He's a super flexible character. He can do a whole lot of things in your team composition. You can be the hard carry, you can be the setup guy. It's just dependent on how you want to play it as a team that'll really impact it.
Twig so far in this game, though, up to 7,000 player damage so far, above the solo laners, funny enough, which isn't something you always see. There's been a lot of action around mid, and speaking of that, now attention turns towards the Gold Fury pit once more. Opportunity to try and look towards Panda Cat was on the cards there as stun comes out from Polar Bear Mike, hitting onto Snoopy. Snoopy finds a good stun on Twig, though, as he came around the corner. eUnited fall back to their own half of the map. Red buff is spawning in eUnited's first, before that of Ghost, and Ghost are here for a scrap.
I like Snoopy's positioning. It's a little bit risky because of how low the health bar is, but this gives him a much better option on that River's Rebuke. You have to be using the jungle geometry in order to guarantee that you're actually going to trap someone.
Solo laners have turned up too. Look at Sam and Panda Cat on the left-hand side as well. They're looking at Guy J. That's where Sam Pasocca's focus is. Snoopy, meanwhile, trying to catch traps in Panda Cat. Didn't happen. Sam takes out Guy J. Tries to get away from the tail end, but will be taken down. Horrywin still being chased down by Fine OK. And Horrywin is going to be screaming into comms, you ban that crap away from me from now on, because I am not dealing with Cthulhu running at me day in, day out. This is insane.
He's had a bit of a rough one. That said, he's Fine OK's been on Horrywin duty for sure. In these team
I would do it though. Like we know Horrywin is definitely one of those players that would definitely get upset when things go wrong, you know, and be quite outspoken. I definitely focus him, so I love Fine OK's decision making there.
Hey, it's an easy kill for Cthulhu versus Merlin. It's just you have so much more range that Merlin can really deal with. It's been pretty easy for Fine. Didn't even need to ult in that little skirmish. Bit unfortunate for United that Guy J got so poked out. I think Sam found a really good avenue into that team fight, and they were able to get him, but it cost a lot of resources for United, a lot of positional advantage in order to try and punish Sam on this Mulan, who I think has had a fantastic game so far. 3-2 isn't the sexiest scoreline in the world, but he's been a part of basically every big play for Ghost.
Support builds coming through. You can see the sledge online for this Horus, which I expected to be a bit more of a staple in some of these supporty gods that can play out of the warrior position too. Just gives you those procs a little bit more effectively than the Thebes. Won't help out your team though, but it will help out you. Ghost on the left hand side still haunting around this Gold Fury pit. Plenty of wards down, however. It's Fine OK. Will get a bit of freedom to take down this tier 1 tower and open up the map on the right hand side. It's Polar Bear Mike and Sam still clearing out wards, forcing some answer back from United as Snoopy arrives on the scene. Scream is on the way too, and Red Buff is due to spawn soon.
Feels like it could be another easy engagement for Ghost just based on the relic situation. Look at the carries relics for Ghost all up. On the other side, exact opposite. Guy J, both relics on cooldown. Horrywin still hasn't gotten a chance to get his Aegis yet, and his beads are on cooldown. So this is a fight that Ghost should absolutely be trying to take.
And no shock, right? Fine OK is already over here on Cthulhu, recognizing this is a good window for them. Back from base comes Variety. His TP's down. He's going to be very late to the fight, and he'll already find out Snoopy is in the fountain. Guy J could be joining him soon after. He's going to get a good ultimate off, though, but a good escape there coming through from Sam Pasocca will keep him alive. Twig gets credit for the kill. 2 quick picks. And it doesn't look like Ghost are done yet, as Fine OK still marching on forward. Scream will try to slow them down around this Gold Fury. Horrywin, meanwhile, just trying to pressure onto mid lane. Gold Fury might have to be surrendered here, The Scream forced out by Sanford Soccer.
I think this is absolutely a give-up situation. Variety might try and make a play with that ultimate, and he's around.
Looking for a boulder, will throw it out, and eUnited to secure it. Anger, hatred will be amongst the Ghost comms right about now, and they will beat him down, but in my eyes, that kind of evens things out, I guess. Variety securing that makes it about even.
I just don't understand why Ghost decided to play it that way. It was, you know that he's gonna boulder. You know that that's the only steal potential. So if you see it coming, you just have to reset it. Panda's still tanking. He tries to secure this Uller combo, which is great secure, but at the same time, Twig comes in and throws a plant at Variety instead of at the Gold Fury. Maybe that would have been the difference, but I don't think that you should ever be leaving that one up to chance. Yes, you are favored to get it in that scenario, but the best teams don't give the other team the option. They just hard reset as soon as they see it cast. It's not like the boulder is the fastest ultimate in the whole world. You can easily get off of that Gold Fury and reset it and then just kill Variety and kill the Gold Fury right afterwards.
We've seen it in seasons gone by over and over again. If you leave it up to a coin flip, you really are risking it in a 50-50, and a prime example of Ghost kind of dropping the ball there. So all that hard work that we saw them do on that left-hand side to get that window just got nullified by Variety's boulder, and now we're back to an even game once more. We've actually, funny enough, eUnited slightly in the lead in gold because they then managed to get over and get the Pyromancer soon after.
They've been in a good spot all of a sudden. I mean, it felt like this game wasn't over, but was really heavily in Ghost's favor, that they had really snowballed the early game effectively. But look at what Hurwin did during that whole engagement. As soon as Snoopy got picked, Hurry was just pushing mid, pushing midwave, pushing midwave, going over to the right side. I mean, he was farming the map. He was down 2 levels of Twig. Now he's up a level. And that's a huge deal because this is when Merlin starts to actually feel like he's bringing a lot to the team fight anyways. Don't love Hurry's decision to go into Soul Gem third item. I really think that Magus is so much better in that slot, but he's getting close to getting the Magus, and at that point, it'll be pretty close to what he would have been anyways.
Jungles and supports boxing out, but huge feels of love connected. Mike going to use his ultimate to try and get himself out of danger. Will fall back to safety in time and then swoop on back in with Sanford Soccer. Snoopy's the one in trouble here at the tail end, just trying to get away from it, but Yamoji being focused. Great rip type and a great pull from Sam again. Meanwhile, Fine OK says, how you doing in the mid lane, Guy J? Get out of there, friend. Who's next on the list? Oh, Hurrywind might say hello to you real quick. Ghost turn it up again, and for me that was a lot of work from Sanford Soccer and a great escape from Polar Bear Mike.
Just a good bait by Ghost for sure. They pull in a couple members and their attention all onto PBM, and then Mike is not even close to dead when it's all said and done, whereas Sam again just gets to kind of free cast in these fights, but he has not missed a whole lot this game. That's the first ultimate that's actually connected. It hasn't been used for mobility, but you see its CC potential and how potent it is in that moment, and then another fantastic arrow to pull Snoopy out from safety.
And now with a bit of an advantage here, Panic at level 17. We'll be able to whittle this down with minions soon, the help of Polar Bear Mike, just to give them a bit more gold and exacerbate that lead a little bit more so at this stage. I'm still leading Ghost so far with how this one's going, but eUnited, I feel like they've not really shown off their composition as well as they could have so far. I don't think they've really had a good engage. It's really not been on their terms with how this has gone so far.
I just don't know how they get the fight on their terms with this composition. I mean, Yamoja is a very engaged, light support. It's pretty hard for her to be the one starting your team fight for you. You're really hoping that Variety's going to get it started by blinking in, but he hasn't really been in the position to do that so far. And otherwise, Scream maybe could start it by blink ulting a tank, blink sash ulting a tank, but is that really the best way to win your fight if you're using Windfire wheels on a frontliner, especially with the way that Scream has built? Again, a little bit more tanky with the sledge straight into the Gladiator shield. It's not a whole lot of damage on frontliners.
Good Earthbreaker connecting with Fine OK there. The stun will connect as well after the fact, followed by the drive and strike onto Fine OK. But look at all that it did. It did nothing. It's a level 19 Cthulhu at the moment. It's just able to 2v1 in that scenario and be quite safe. Mike was just hovering the wings if required. Fury's up in 30 seconds time, and Pyromancer will follow soon after. And I think we'll see some attention turned back towards that objective. And I'm just wondering if we can see a little bit more out of Hurrywind here at this point with how this is looking. Especially, as you said, like his build's now online a little bit more. Spear of the Magus now completed. This is where Merlin can start to frag out a little bit if he gets the window to do so.
He's getting to the point where he feels really strong again, and you've got enough cooldown between the Maida's Blessing and the Chronos Pendant and the Soul Gem to stay in Arcane stance without feeling like you're wasting opportunities because of how long those cooldowns are. This is a strong point for Heroin, but at the same time, it's a strong point for Twig, because Twig has finished Soul Reaver, which feels like such a massive power spike for Persephone, especially because her AoE is so strong, and you're hitting multiple people with plants pretty consistently. This is going to be an important fight for both of them.
Mike trying to bait out a little bit here for his team, just trying to force a couple of abilities. If he could get that Fields of Love out again from Guy J, it could pay off. But look at Sam flanking around the left-hand side and find OK on the right. The pincer maneuver is available if required. It's opened up a bit of a window for Panda Cat to start work on the Fury. He's taking a bit more damage to bargain for as Mike goes in, stuns onto Snoopy. Pressure on Snoopy for a second, dissuades as now Scream joins the fray. And Fine OK get pulled back into a dangerous territory. CC combo is really good on Fine OK so far. He's forced to ultimate and try and stay alive as long as he can. Those extra mitigations come into play as now Snoopy under pressure too. He's got a lot of Mojo Omni available as Twig gets to Guy J again. Poor old Guy J having a rough time on this Cupid so far as Sam hits a killing spree now. Carrie's dead for eUnited and they have to fall back once more. Ghost can now fall back to the Primal Fury.
It's just so risky to commit that much to the Cthulhu. I mean, you said it. It was a great CC chain. They had him down to 20%, but between the Gaia regen and that mitigation coming from the ultimate, it makes it nearly impossible to actually finish him. And then at that point, you've used so much of your important abilities to get Final K that low that then it's very easy for Sam to just blink in and be a nightmare in your back line, and for Panda Cat to dive in alongside him. Just an overcommit onto the Cthulhu. And I understand, I mean, when you're talking through it in-game, there's a lot of conversations that always happen on, hey, how do we lose that fight? What can we do differently in the next fight to make sure we win it? I'm sure a conversation has been, we need to kill the Cthulhu because Hurry and Guy Jake both can't play when he's up. So then they decide to try and do it, but then it doesn't work because he's so tanky. That's the problem with that character, man. He's going to be impossible to peel, so you got to try and kill him. If we can't kill him, then what do we do? Well,
it feels like when we've watched Ghost Gaming's like composition and fight so far this game, they seem to initiate on like Snoopy to begin with, and that draws the attention of everyone to protect Snoopy for a second, and that kind of exposes the backline of Hurrywind and of Guy J that end up getting taken out. Like you said, you know, they focus Cthulhu, they focus Snoopy, they switch to Cthulhu focused as eUnited, and then straight away Sam Fasaka sees an angle and goes straight to Guy J again to make sure he can't play. Tricky task for eUnited then to get back in this. The gold lead is 3k in advantage, but the team fights so far have definitely favored Ghost with this one.
And Variety maybe can start to be the guy to actually help peel. I mean, it's not exactly what Hercules wants to do, but he can do it pretty effectively between Driving Strike and Earthbreaker. Maybe you can just set Variety on peel duty to try and get Sam Fasaka off of your backline, but I'm sure that's not exactly where Harry wants to be. He wants to be in the enemy backline, you know, trying to chase down this Persephone and this Uller. With their mobility as well, I think that might be a better use of Variety's time, is just playing a little bit more peel-oriented.
We can see a Panic Cat's build here. Did go for that Brawlers for a bit of anti-heal, but also has a Jotun's Wrath, which we've not seen too much of on the Hunters as of late. But cooldown reduction and pen, always going to be useful. We'll see how this continues on as now Fire Giant pressure starts to come through for Ghost Gaming. Clearing out wards, using Cthulhu as a frontliner, and Mike, who's more than happy to be aggressive, that can always just swoop back to the team with that surge if he needs to. Mulan back to baseline for Sam Fasaka 2 here, just getting a couple more wards online, and I love the pick up of the Wing Blade there as well, just to allow some of these slows not to make as much of an impact on him, keep that mobility high up. I think Wing Blade is a little bit sleeper this season, or at least the second half, with how many people with slows we're seeing in the meta.
This item's just good, especially if gods like Nemesis are going to continue to be picked.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to see a lot of Winged Blades very quickly, and it's fantastic up against the United's comp. It means that someone has got to slow Sam, and it isn't hard. I mean, just Ring Bounce will do it from Scream, but you've got to make sure that that Wing Blade proc is gone before Guy J ever gets to use his ultimate on Sam. I don't think it's going to hit Sam no matter what, between the CC immunity from his ultimate as well. It's kind of difficult to really get a whole lot of value out of Fields of Love on the Mulan, but now it's impossible unless that Wing Blade is gone.
I think I've done the last fight too as well. Fine, okay, just feeling a bit more confident, but full focus on Polar Bear Mike here on this corner, who's still alive. Swooping to the backman to join Fine OK. Anchor's been popped too to reduce the healing, and the damage is coming through even more so. Guy J and Variety could be the first to die. It's Variety, followed by Guy J and Captain Twig. The chase now on for Hurrywinds as Ghost Gaming wrap them around the back. Great swooping from Fine OK there, Ryan, and Hurrywinds is going to fall down any second now.
No chance for him to survive, even underneath the Phoenix, and that leaves just Scream and Snoopy still up for United. Scream never got a chance to participate in that fight at all. He was trying to clear out mid-waves and just kind of got zoned from where that fight started, and it made it pretty easy for Ghost Gaming to just run him over.
Okay, Phoenix falls on the right-hand side into the throne room they go. Respawn's going to take a while. Snoopy, no ultimate. Eva does. Oh, so Scream does have an ultimate. He picks him straight up and down. That's a major damage dealer and Panda Cat for the Titan to bring it down, but Scream will lose his life. Panda Cat's still alive. Minions might actually not kill him, but I'm sure Sam will, unless the chase is good to get away. Great work out from United on the defense there. They don't manage to end up ending the game off the Titan, but the damage has been done. Phoenix falls on this right-hand side.
Dude, imagine trying to kill a Titan with Scream alive. Could not be me. That was nuts to what he just did to Panda Cat. He wound up the Naja auto chain to that final big fourth swing and then blinked as he was auto attacking. You're not in combat. You can do that and it keeps your animation. So he blinked on top of Panda, slammed him with the auto and insta-ulted him and nearly one-shot him before Panda could do anything. That was nuts target selection by Scream and nuts mechanics by him as well.
Right, taking a bit of damage first of all against the tanks of Fine OK, but Fine OK hunting for Guy J first of all, the closest target to him. Maya off the mark. May just end up hitting Snoopy instead with that root and does so. Burst damage from Panda Cat is pretty damn solid there along with the grasp of death, and Snoopy will fall down. Fine OK on the backside trying to whittle down the health bars yet again of the backline tanks. Get this Cthulhu out of my games is where I'm at here. No more solo lane Cthulhu. Don't let it through. Guy J knocked up again. Forced back. The damage just too much for him to handle. He's back to the safety of his fountain for the time being, as now Ghost Gaming can fall back to the Fire Giant once more.
Another easy pick on the Snoopy, and that seems to be Ghost's plan as they've set another trap. Just going to let Final K go in first.
And whenever the Final K is this far forward, I'm not even too concerned, because Mike, you saw him in an earlier fight, just be able to swoop in to help out and bring even more CC to the battlefield. That knock-up, that stun, really being used well here by Ghost Gaming. Fine, okay, put out of position again. This one's going to hurt a little bit. We do have a pause coming through from the two teams. Don't panic here, guys. Will be a quick pause. Obviously, before you all panic, I'm not raging about combat pauses. If you're not seeing the rules on pausing and the Pro League, go visit the website. This is all under control. Don't worry. But yeah, pause coming through
not
there.
the same as it used to be, for sure.
No,
Yeah,
it's not the
I
same
hope
as it used to
so.
be, which is good news.
I hope he'll die from that position. I think he will, but still Ghost in a commanding position. It is good news for United that their Phoenix that they have to defend is on that right-hand side. Makes it pretty easy for them to walk up and still be able to be players at Fire without having to worry about their Titan dying, and especially with both the Tier 2 standing in both duo and mid, they really don't have to worry about their Titan room that much. Their Titan's pretty tanky at this point, and maybe United can get in there and try and make a play around Fire.
I think looking through this game so far, though, it kind of comes back to picks and bans for me a little bit. I mean, Herc and Yamoja, the first two picks, they're both main supports for the most part, so it kind of gives the game away already when you look at those two gods, that it's probably Hercules in the solo lane, which makes things a lot easier as the game develops to know where the rest of these picks and bans are going to fall through. I think United could have adjusted there a little bit there, Ryan, but it does look like they were trying to be comfort picks more than anything else. Take away the Herc from Mike, maybe? I don't know.
I think so.
Back in action, though.
I think that's...
And we get to see Fine OK do fall down to Scream, but can eUnited find anything else after the fact? No.
No, doesn't seem that way. PBM, maybe actually with Variety having that Shield of Regrowth could have caught up, but Sam and the rest of the gang close enough for Protector Surge. But now Fine OK went a little bit too far forward, finds himself in a bad spot. This is actually an opportunity for eUnited.
Really is. Variety on zone duty. Scream actually tanking this one up at the time being. Polar Bear Mike trying to get in the pit. Good Rivers Rebuke to slow down the aggression. And the Fire Giant is stolen. Was that Panda Cat over the wall? Or was that Twig? I'm not sure.
It was.
It don't matter. Ghost Gaming steal that away, and now it's Mike who's left to die. But that's okay. They strip away the Fire Giant in a 4-on-5.
That's incredible by Panda Cat because the walls were good from Snoopy.
Yeah.
It prevents any auto attacks from coming through. It prevents Bladed Arrow. and make sure that you don't have any information on Fire Giant's HP. That was just a blind shot from Panda Cat. He is not throwing away that one. That was a perfect play by him. A little bit of luck, but a lot of game sense as well comes into plays like that. And the eUnited was looking like they might be able to claw back into it if they could have secured that fire, but Ghost may have just stuffed out the rebellion with how that Fire Giant went.
And you talk about decision making there. I love what we saw out of Sam for the soccer actually. Went mid lane, just pressured that down as the United were forcing down right. As soon as he realized they were going for Phoenix, he takes the tier 2, strips the red, keeps the farm going, and this Fire Giant is going to cause all sorts of issues now for United, who did a great job at trying to battle back into this game. Right hand Phoenix is coming back up, but it's going to have someone to have to deal with it for another second or two. I just wonder if Ghost can look to split the map up a little bit here now.
You just look at the way that the score lines look for Ghost in their backline especially. I mean, a combined 8, 2, and 14 for Captain Twig and Panda Cat. Only 2 deaths on Sam as well. It's really just been
for United.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's well, not as good, I suppose, if you're on a United side. Good idea to get the replay here. I don't think that Panda had info on this. That Rivers Rebuke was perfect. It was just a perfectly timed hail of arrows.
I'm just wondering if Mike would have been able to see it enough for him to get vision of it, but it was a great shot. And like what we were talking about earlier, you know, take a coin flip, you can have a bit of an issue, but in that situation, I understand the United going for it. They definitely felt unlucky there, because this game could have been back to an even keel. Instead, it's Ghost on the offense. Polar Bear, Mike, and Fine, okay, leading the charge. And look at where Sam is split, pushing that right-hand side, forcing someone to come and defend. Screams the defender there, which means that's another engage tool not available on this left-hand side. I don't really think Scream could really stop Sam for Soccer if he wants to keep on barreling down here. You actually see Mike switching towards a mid lane position and keeping Variety in check for a second now. Can sweep towards that left if required. Ghost being quite patient so far, waiting on minions.
If you done a good job of pushing all the waves, this is a difficult spot for eUnited to be in, because they know that they've got 3 Phoenixes all that are in pretty dire straits at this point.
Snoopy also has got beads this game on the emoji here, a little bit worried about that, doesn't have the blink, and Sam takes a lot of damage from Scream there under the Phoenix, but he is buying time for his team to maybe make something happen on the left-hand side. Great blink over the wall will keep Sam alive, but Scream's got a blink of his own. That's a nice solo kill out from Scream, but how is the battle on the left-hand side? Well, it's not going well for Ghost Gaming. There's mistakes have been happening here. This split from Ghost has not worked out, and eUnited hold the line.
What an impressive week 1 from Scream, though. I mean, I think that one of the biggest strengths of Sam for Soccer's game is that he's this really good early game player that also never seems to lose his assassin 1v1s. You look across his career at the big plays he's made at Worlds last year, how many of them were 1v1ing Cherio and mid, you know, in those games, or that fantastic Susano flank up against that team in one of those final games. That's what I think of when I think of Sam, and then Scream really just took that 1v1 with ease. And that Najah's really not a 1v1 god. That's not really what he excels at this point in the game, but Scream plays it perfectly, waits for Sam to commit to the Phoenix. I think he got Sam to start tanking some Phoenix shots before he ended up taking him into the sky, and then finds a solo kill, which really stuffs the whole option for Ghost on that siege. And it hasn't just been today, Scream making plays. Even in their loss on Friday, I thought Scream looked much, much better, at least in game 1 of that set. So that's even with all the turmoil in eUnited's duo lane, I think Scream returning to form would be the #1 thing that would have eUnited have more success this phase in comparison to last phase.
How are we feeling about Guy J and Snoopy so far then? I mean, this is the second game we've seen them in. This is definitely a struggle bus, so to speak, with how it's gone so far. But I mean, do you feel like this is going to work for them in the long run with what we've seen out of them today?
I think so. I think that you have to give both of them some extra time. I mean, Snoopy, even though he's been around forever, support is not a role that he's played at the SPL level a whole lot, so you know it's going to take him some time. I think support is one of the hardest roles to succeed in the SPL, so there's so many great support players that you're going to have to go up against every single week that it's pretty difficult to match that output. I think Snoopy can do it eventually. It's just going to take him some time. And Guy J, I think, has shown that he has all the tools. I think he's got good decision-making. I think he's got great mechanics. It's just such a different game at this level. The pace of the game is so different. The way the fights play out is so different. it takes time for him. He's going to get better, not worse. So even though this game has been rough for him, he's still top of his team in player damage. I don't think that he's anything you have to worry about.
Did you see how much damage that did? That was insane. That was a tank as well. Okay, Variety lost like a third of his health off a couple of abilities there already. Just shows that we're hitting that late stage now where these items are coming fully online. Boots haven't really been sold on either side just yet, but we are reaching for critical mass of everybody, so carries are really the forefront. They need to be taken out quickly. Speaking of carries, Scream did manage to find a great carry play on Sam for Soccer earlier, but that knockup was huge, and he got beaten out as soon as he went for the ultimate. Sam read that and answered back with a kill earlier on. Fine, okay, and Polar Bear Mike though leading the charge down the right side one more time. Good grapple out again onto Variety, but a good riptide from Snoopy peels away his frontline carry. The damage is starting to hurt a lot more though on these tanks. You see Fine OK's health bar a lot lower than it has been previously. But it is a 1-for-0 exchange in that little skirmish that might open up more of an opportunity again for Ghost to look at the FG. But look at that left-hand side, a lot of minions pouring down there too. Someone will have to deal with that eventually if they're not careful.
And this Fire Giant is enhanced, and I don't think Ghost has very good objective DPS. Uller pretty low in that department.
Blink from Sam causes some problems. He gets a ton of damage from Merlin and with Variety there alongside. Great driving strike comes through, but Sam gets a huge heal once again as Mike comes into the fray. Variety stuck in an awful hole, but manages to drive and strike him away. Rivers Rebuke dropped down as Mike has been pinned and left alone. He was there to help out his teammates, and a classic support death for him. But the chase is on. Guy J leading the charge. Fields of Love drop down and slipping the noose is fine, okay, but it doesn't allow Merlin to get into the fray too. Can't find the damage from the Arcane as Snoopy tries to slow them down with the Riptides or speed them up. Won't be the case. Great disengage from Ghost there. But now it's eUnited with a man advantage around the FG again. This time this happened last time round, Ryan. It was stolen away by Ghost. Can they do it again?
Yeah, that's the concern. Grasp of Death a little bit early there, and Variety actually gets popped by
You say early.
Panda.
I say perfect.
With that damage. Yeah, it looked like it was going to be early. Turns out it wasn't. It was right on time from Captain Twig. But is that enough to really dissuade eUnited? Now they know that that Persephone ultimate's down. That's not that bad for them.
Yeah, there's a Cthulhu in the area. I think that's enough to really dissuade him because Fine OK has his ultimate available too. Horrywin just ate a ton of poke, and there's Fine OK again. Blink away from Horrywin user, at least the flicker to try and slow him down, but it's too little too late. Snoopy's Rivers Rebuke won't really do too much there except to Sam Fasoka's health bar. Panda Cat leaping in, but low on mana, just looking for a couple of basics as Guy J and Snoopy have to fall back. The rest of the team are dead, and Fire Giant, with all 5 members of Ghost Gaming alive, could be under threat once more.
So for how well I thought eUnited played their sieges on Fire Giants, last game in particular, but even in this game, that one is the exact opposite, where clearly a coherent call was not made for everyone to follow. They just could not seem to decide what they wanted to do.
I don't think these guys can really defend this here, Guy James. They were looking at him for a second, but look at Mike and Fine OK. You shall not cross this threshold over here. This Fire Giant is completely safe for Ghost Gaming. With that, the question really turns to what are the respawn times like? Well, it's 20 seconds, and the Oni Fury is available. eUnited might be able to slip this in time if they're lucky, but it looks like Ghost Gaming are also making a beeline for it. And I think eUnited is actually going to play this a little bit safer, which makes sense to me, just in case they get caught out there.
And this is a situation where the new changes to the Gold Furies, the Oni Fury, the Primal Fury, makes it a lot harder for one person to tank them. And just do them even as a hunter because of the debuffs that they provide. So maybe a situation there where Guy J could have potentially done Oni Fury by himself without a whole lot of threat. He could always just drop it and go about his way. Now, because of that extra debuff, that gets a little scarier. And as a result, it means that Ghosts are the ones to grab that very important Oni Fury.
Really feeling like eUnited just, at the moment, they're kind of, for me, they're kind of the upset team of the year. And not in terms of like they're going to upset and win the league. I mean, they could be the one that plays spoiler for a lot of teams with how they're playing. Because I feel like when they're on the game, they really step up toe-to-toe pretty well. I mean, look at the deficit here, 21-10. But I can't count them out with how game 1 went, for example. But then again, this game 2, like I still feel like they've got a shot in this one.
They do, without a doubt. They've played really well to get to this point when it looked like the game was about to end. Again, it doesn't, because Scream makes another fantastic play on the Titan defense. It's just no one's really questioned eUnited's high end. When they're playing at their best, I think everyone is aware that there's a team that has a chance to beat them. the best of the best. It's just that inconsistency that's plagued them, not just the phase 1, but it looks like in phase 2 it might as well. Early still, to be fair.
That is true. That means week 1 of phase 2, a long season ahead of us too, as all these teams will play each other 3 times in best of 3s through the season. And this time around, Ghost Gaming doing a bit more of a different split here. Sam and Panda on the left-hand side dealing with 3, as Variety in mid lane under pressure 2. Mike goes in at the same time towards Sam for Soccer to look for the pick on Guy J. Guy J buys as much time as possible. He dashes back towards his team and will be safe until Cthulhu's there, but this has opened the window for Ghost to get that left-hand Phoenix. Remember, the right-hand side Phoenix was already weakened after being taken down earlier on, so the damage has been done to the base again. Fine OK's ultimate wears off on Cthulhu as the damage dealers from eUnited are forced back to the Titan once more, and now the middle Phoenix is now under siege. Ghost Gaming are causing problems, but Scream, he does get a great orb off there onto Captain Twig, I believe, and Twig falls down to Variety's boulder after the fact, but don't forget, Persephone's still in action for a minute and will answer back the kill on Scream.
Heroin's so low, Final K just short in the damage department, but got a 4-on-4 now right on the Titan room. Make that a 4-on-3. Down goes Gaijin.
Yeah, 1 by 1, but Mike taking it up and no one really putting damage in towards the Titan just yet. Pandacat still whittling away the health bars, as is fine okay as they pick up Hurrywind, and now the attention could turn towards the Titan. Maybe the kill for Snoopy. Get off to a good start on those KDAs, boys, that's important. But more importantly is getting themselves back to an even keel. Tied up at 1-1. We go into a game 3 after Ghost Gaming have answered back pretty effectively there. Right, Cthulhu solo needs to go. That's just where I'm at. I just don't want to see it anymore. It shouldn't happen. I think all teams can recognize that. It was 5th pick, I feel like, in the picks and ban phase there. No more. Get it out.
Agreed. It's got to be banned. Or you've got to pick a mid laner that can actually deal with it a little bit better. The thing is, I don't think there are a whole lot of mid laners that deal with it well at all. So I don't know. I don't know it. Maybe United do, but clearly it's not the Merlin. A combined 2-14 between Hurwin and Gaijay right there. You've got to find a way to keep that backline a little bit more safe. Banning Cthulhu, a good start there.
Well, let's find out then if eUnited can answer some of those questions we've got as we get to pick some bans again. We'll get it back to Dave and Myth on the desk to break down game 2.
Well, Hindu Man's got the eUnited colors there behind him. Not enough to push eUnited for the win here in game number 2 of this best of 3 set. Game 3 over the horizon. Ghost Gaming in 40 minutes, similar idea. This time they execute on it and grab themselves a win. Mifflin, how do they get there, though? I mean, they build a similar core here. The Persephone looks a lot better. Ullr's still there for Pandacat. And maybe the guys there on the cast are right. Something about this Cthulhu in the solo lane really pushes Ghost over the finish line.
I would say that it almost entirely comes down to Sam for Soccer. I mean, that early game dominance on the Mulan was insane. Scream couldn't keep up. He's diving your tower at level 6 in mid, just making sure that Hurrywin wasn't able to get off to a good start. Cthulhu was the main driving factor in every single team fight, and it's crazy to me, and the casters did point it out. It got through the second phase of bans. It was 4th pick. Can't let that happen. Yep. You got plenty of bans, guys. If you don't want to ban in the first phase, they're not taking it in the first phase. At least dedicate some of that second phase ban to Cthulhu.
And this is a team in eUnited that know the strengths of Cthulhu, excuse me. Remember, Snoopy played Cthulhu 2 out of 2 games in their first set so far here in Phase 2. It really seemed to Mifflin, I mean, it's a 5k gold lead here, 29, almost 30 minutes into the game. It's Pandacat over the back wall that takes that FG away. And Snoopy actually had a good Yamoja ult there, but I think that steal, that turnaround is, was looking dire for eUnited anyway. But taking that Fire Giant away, I think, really sealed the deal.
You got to be able to confirm better than that. And that's one of the failings of Merlin. He doesn't have the best objective confirm. He does have the best objective burn, bar none. That said, eUnited should have been able to confirm over that. Hail of Arrows isn't that much damage. I'd probably hit it for about 400. There are plenty of ways they could have dealt with it. Hercules ult, Yamoja burst with Gaijay burst combined at the same time. I mean, it was just a bit of a sloppy play around that Fire Giant. I think they were just a little bit too reliant on that Yamoja wall. And it was fantastic. It stopped the Persephone ult from coming through, but you're still not safe.
Well, and some good replays here from Captain Twig as well. We wondered how comfortable Ghost would be after game number 1. Going back to that Persephone, it admittedly didn't look great there in game 1. Is this the redemption arc, you think, for Captain Twig there in the middle lane here in game 2?
It certainly was. There were some plays in the early game where I was thinking to myself, yep, probably shouldn't have gone back to that Persephone. This is like 2 or 3 bone rushes, dies, misses another one. But it's fine because as the game went on, he was getting more and more comfortable, more consistent with all of those abilities. And he was able to position very aggressively on this Persephone because of the front line that Ghost Gaming's draft had. He didn't fall back ever. Scream wasn't nearly as capable of just shutting down this Persephone on the Naja pick.
Nearly top damage in the game, too. It's only Hurrywind by about 450 damage, taking that top spot. So the Merlin's still finding its footing, unable to fully get eUnited back into the game, though, here in game number 2. And now we start to look towards game 3. It's been the same mindset, I would argue, from Ghost Gaming, from game 1 to game 2. Draft built very similar. Fine OK gets Cthulhu a couple of times, Persephone there in the mid lane. We're at a point now, though, where there's so many difficult decisions I think you have to make as a second pick or even a first pick. I mean, I think both teams really have to decide what they're comfortable giving up. It's been Persephone and Cthulhu, though, over to Ghost here. Do you expect maybe eUnited to change up some of their priority here for Game 3?
I expect to see some priority changes in the second phase of bans, but as far as first phase goes, it seems like Ghost is very comfortable banning out this Yanis every single time. So it's essentially a throwaway target ban. From there, you have to kind of address the big elephants in the room. And I'm not talking about Ganesh. I'm talking about Ring of Akate users. Almost said abusers. We're talking about Freya. We're talking about Olorun. Kronos and Sol have fallen by the wayside a little bit through these games, but we might see them get picked out as well. Aggro was saying that some mid laners really can't deal with Cthulhu. Sol might be the option. Just use Dissipate, walk away, wait for that ultimate to end from Cthulhu, and then just work your way back in.
And Guy J's had some good Sol performances so far here, so maybe that's another answer for eUnited. We'll have to see, though, picks and bans for game number 3. About to join us here on screen. And right to your point, maybe Mifflin, maybe it's not so much the repriority in the ban column here for the first 3 for eUnited. Maybe instead you have to take away this Cthulhu. If you're going to give the Persephone back to Captain Twig, you need to take Cthulhu away with one of those first 2 picks. But we'll have to see what eUnited elect to do on that category. I think the Giannis is a smart ban. I mean, now it's the 3rd time we've seen it from Ghost Gaming here. I suppose the potential threshold just a little bit too high to let Hurrywind have a shot at it.
And it's also just a pick that is really good against Ghost's strategy, right? Hurrywind on Yanis is one of the hardest gods to lock down with the best pilot behind it. He's going to be able to position himself behind your team, then get in front of them in the next second, ult through the wall, bring his entire team with him. One of the fastest gods in the game as well, where Ghost is playing these drafts that are looking to dive constantly, just spearhead their way into the backline. Yanis is just a little bit too slippery. So I really do like this ban for Ghost Gaming.
Right. Yeah, I think, you know, against anyone else, maybe we're scratching our heads, but Hurrywind carries a little extra weight with this god. Freya and Olorun still taken off the table here, so it looks like we're barreling our way towards a Persephone first pick for Ghost Gaming, and it's been Hercules has been the eUnited answer in that first pick slot, and then changed up a little bit, but it's been support / solo lane really for eUnited. And that's where I suppose the interesting conversation starts, where eUnited has prioritized with their first 2 picks a solo laner. It just hasn't been Cthulhu just yet, and eUnited are going to ban it away. So not wanting to take it in that second wave of bans, but could be another ripe spot for Persephone here for Ghost Gaming.
It's most likely going to be the Persephone. This god is just so dominant in lane. She's one of the safer ones. When you think of mid laners that can deal damage from a range, you think of Thoth. Persephone's got very similar range, but the burst ability is way higher. Bone Rush is one concentrated bit of damage, whereas Hieroglyphic Assault, you have to channel it for a little bit. I love Persephone in general. The safety of her, just the jump out, the range from the ultimate, every single piece works perfectly for this god. And if you do somehow successfully make your way into Ghost backline and kill him, well, Captain Twig's going to be wailing on you for the next couple seconds post-mortem.
How about this Hercules, though? You know, it's what I sort of mentioned there. It's been the first pick for eUnited all 3 games now, or at least in the first couple of picks. Does that make sense to you? You know, Hercules first overall, and this is what we saw from them in Game 1. Hercules, Wukong. What are your thoughts on those 2 paired together? Does that carry enough weight to warrant picks 1 and 2?
I think against Ghost Gaming, Hercules' first pick is fine, especially seeing how well Snoopy was able to play it in Game 1. I mean, this guy was hitting every single ability. Remove the nameplates, you could have told me it was Aurora, you could have told me it was PBM, and I would have believed you. Snoopy makes this god look incredibly strong. Sun Wukong, on the other hand, is a decent pick. I don't think it's been highly contested in the SPL just yet. If you're really worried about it getting banned out, sure, go ahead and take it. But even then, in your first phase of picks, you might as well take something a little bit higher priority. You could even look towards the Chronos to get your pick of the best hunters. Sun Wukong this high up in the draft is a little bit of a question mark for me.
Well, now we'll get to see what eUnited have been so scared of. Nemesis was in that Cthulhu ban slot in Games 1 and Game 2. Now Sam for Soccer out of the jungle will get to show us exactly why. We've already, I think, talked a little bit, Mifflin, about why Nemesis seems to be so good here in this current meta, the ability to get into that backline and melt down some of those targets. Certainly strong there. And then another Circuit here for Scream. What do you think of the two jungle picks that we've got?
Circuit's good. It's going to be very decent for shutting down Persephone. You've got a really good gap close to make sure that you can make your way to her, and then you could likely escape afterward. I like it into Yamoja, deal with some of that healing. The 1v1 against Nemesis is very strong, as long as Nemesis' shield is used before Circuit blows the majority of her damage. So far, both drafts are very strong, but this Nemesis pick is going to be a direct counter to both Hercules and Sun Wukong. These guys are going to be looking directly at your front line. It's very likely in team fights that one of those two is going to get hit by Grasping Death. After that, Nemesis ult drops. That's about 30% of your health bar, a lot of your defenses as well. It's going to be very hard for United to keep these tanks alive.
Look at this respect here from Ghost. It's been Giannis now 3 out of 3 games banned out. Merlin, despite a loss, was top damage in the game there for Hurrywind, and I think the priority is spot on here for Ghost Gaming. Hurrywind has that ability, despite losing matchups, to kind of turn these games around, so I think smart from Ghost Gaming. Different priority, though, for United. Remember, it's been a lot of Sam for Soccer bans. Obviously, the jungle pick already there for Ghost Gaming, so they're going to turn their eyes elsewhere. Uller taken away from PandaCat, and an Amaterasu off the table as well, Mifflin. Do you like what United have banned out in their second wave?
They're strong bans, and those are two gods that would have fit into Ghost Gaming's draft incredibly well. Ull would have brought that damage and lane pressure. Amaterasu is just a good flex pick. It would have likely gone towards Soul Lane, which she would have had a pretty decent matchup into Sun Wukong, if Sun Wukong is going to solo, which I think we can assume pretty accurately. I like the bans from both squads here. I'm surprised that Ghost decided to ban out the Morrigan instead of something along the lines of Raijin. I feel like that fits Hurrywind's playstyle just a little bit better, but Morrigan into the Ghost Gaming draft is very strong. If she's able to land a stun on a Nemesis or Persephone and gets late game full build, it's going to be a 100-0 just about every time. The bans so far from both squads are very strong.
Yeah, I think both teams have a good, sound strategy coming into Game 3 here. Both teams still needing hunters. eUnited, though, no longer. Jingwei locked in. That's been, I suppose, a popular hunter pick there outside of PandaCat and Uller so far here in this set. Jingwei has been the traditional hunter that a lot of these teams are going back to when some of the mage ADCs are off the table. Haven't quite seen as much Chronos. I think we've only seen him once so far here in the SPL. But no magical ADCs to be seen just yet, except for in the ban phase. Rom picked up now for Ghost Gaming. Both teams have locked in their hunter. We're going to get to do another role comparison here, Mifflin. Rom versus the Jingwei. What do you think of that?
Rom wins the 1v1, but Jingwei is not likely to give him that 1v1. She's the safest guy in the game. I don't think she really needs to look to fight it out early. I'll be excited to see how the builds go for both teams. Ghost Gaming with this Rom and having that really strong attack speed stim, we might see him decide to go towards Silver Branch Bow, get a slight adjustment in the Hunter build that we're used to seeing. I think both are likely just going to go Atalanta's straight up because it's possibly the best stat stick for any Hunter. But as far as just that 1-for-1 matchup, it's probably going to be pretty slow in the long lane.
Now, Mifflin, this is something we've started to see a little bit more of. I'm not going to let myself get confused here this time around. Nemesis already locked in, now a Thor. We have started to see Thor trickle into that solo lane just a little bit. It has worked here and there. Do you think it's a role where he can see some success?
I love Thor solo. If you get
Yes.
pressure in lane, you're able to force out Sun Wukong, immediately rotate in the jungle, no one has eyes on you. Well, you also got a global ultimate. You can put your pressure in a mid very easily with a low opportunity cost, just because you're rotating so quickly. Thor also is just going to have decent sustain in a lane. If he does decide to go towards the Soul Eater or something along those lines, he can go a slightly tankier build with Sledge, finish it up with Heartseeker. Thor solo isn't really sacrificing that much on damage, and he's one of the best initiators you could take out of the Soul Lane.
Hebo, mid lane for Hurrywind. Quick thoughts there.
Waterhand's good, 3 ultimates, that's the big meme. I mean, Hebo's strong, and he's going to have a very tanky front line in front of him, but he doesn't really have that much in terms of peel.
Hurrywind, he'll make it work. Game 3 here, Ghost Gaming eUnited for the third and final time. Hindu Man and Aggro will take us in.
That's right. Thanks a lot, Dave. Yeah, we're ready for this one. And I do want to touch on what Myth was just saying there. 3 ultimates. Well, realistically, Ryan, I think this game, it's a 4th ultimate is actually there for Hebo. With that water carpet, really, that could make a bit of an impact against this Nemesis if it's played effectively. Because just removing those slows could be a big impact for their team.
And it's also good against Persephone, who's going to be slowing you pretty consistently as well. So I think that this is a great pick for Hurrywind in that final slot. It's a little bit different. It's very, very difficult to transition into being a Hebo player when you're used to playing things like Merlin all the time. I think those two are very different styles of mages, but Hurry's been in the pro scene for such a long time. I think he does have one of the bigger god pools in the mid lane. I don't think this is a big problem for him.
We'll see what he can do with this one for the most part, because I do think that is a big instrumental factor, especially when you look at the fact that there's only one magical damage dealer on eUnited this game, with them running that warrior support. But the good news is it's a big mid lane mage with a burst in Hebo, so maybe that'll answer back here. Guy J and Snoopy going to start for the buff on the left hand side, and Guy J going to be playing the Jingwei this game, someone that I definitely can see crit being very useful on. And this is quite a squishy composition that Ghost has crafted, so maybe the crits will come into play.
I think so. I think that this is a good idea to go to the Jingwei. It's just a strong pick still, and even though it might not be as dominant as it once was, I still think that Jing is still in a very, very good spot. You can get up and over the River's Rebuke. You can get away from Nemesis a little bit easier than a lot of other hunters can. I like the idea of going to the Jing and having you have this aggressive option, because when given the opportunity, Guy has looked pretty good on the offense. Even though he hasn't soloed Panda Cat, he's forced him out of lane a couple times during the set.
Speaking of Nemesis again, I mean, we've seen a little bit more of it this split already. She's back into the fray after the mid-season changes. And obviously a game where we get to really see what United might have been scared of, because I'm glad they banned Cthulhu, let's be honest. I think I'd rather deal with the Nemesis right now than deal with Final Kid's Cthulhu for one more game. At least if I'm one of the carries in the back line, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Sam has looked really good on this Nem pick. Basically everyone who's gotten it has looked really good on it. She feels very strong right now, and I would rather give her over without a doubt than deal with what Final K was doing on that Cthulhu. The Ghost has shown a propensity to let the Cthulhu through and prioritize this Persephone 3 games in a row of the Flower Girl here for Twig, but if United's not willing to take it top 2, then you've got to ban it, and it seems like they finally came to that same conclusion.
I know the fans at home might have been too impressed, I was going to say, with Captain Twig's play so far on this Persephone, and I've just cursed him as I was saying it, because I actually think he had some really good ultimates so far this game, and position hasn't been too bad outside of the early game, as confirmed there at the 2-minute mark for First Blood for United, as Scream gets himself on the board again. Final K Pilot, and he's well known for in the solo lane up against Sun Wukong, Jingu Bang versus Hammer, the battle of 2 long-range poke tools.
It's a little bit harder to land the hammer double tap than the Jingu Bang, but the payoff is certainly there a little bit more, because it does a ton of damage, as Variety is reminded pretty quickly. I do think that this is a pretty good gank scenario, though, for Scream, because unlike Wukong, if Final K does use that hammer to clear the wave, then he's used his escape, and it's pretty easy to be ganked, especially by someone like Cirquette, who can lock you down for so long. So I like the idea of Scream spending some extra time on this right side of the map. I think this is a matchup where he can do it.
Especially pre-5, but no beads available for Twig, and that's just going to be doom and gloom for him. Speed buff also available in Ghost Gaming's jungle, because you saw Sam Pasaka was busy stripping away the blue buff from Variety So answered back in spades by eUnited early on here, as now Hurrywind and Scream off to a great start in this one, and Snoopy allowing Guy J now to get a bit more freeform already in that duo lane. Exactly what you want out of a Jingwei in the early game. Relatively safe overall, as we saw from what Myth was saying on the desk there too. So eUnited off to a good start so far in the early stages, but I do feel like Ghost start to find a bit of ground once we get to the mid-game with this sort of composition.
I think so too. I think Ghost, once they group up, it has a very, very strong 5-on-5. They've got plenty of CC, they've got great damage, it's a long-range damage in the sense that Persephone and Rom can kind of hit you from anywhere, so can Thor with that ult. And they've got really, really good target selection because of that Nemesis ultimate as well. But I think United's got tools in this composition. They've got really solid mobility on their team. It's going to be hard to get away from how much mobility they have. And they've got great burst damage coming from the Hebo and the Circuit. So I think that United has a little bit more in the tank and with this sort of composition than they did in the past.
Definitely, and I think that's a bit of an issue for Ghost to really consider here about falling too far behind too early with how this one's going. I mean, down 1,000 gold at the moment, that's okay, but they just need to make sure they just tread water for a little bit here so they don't get too far behind, because there's definitely a composition of United running here in the early game that could take off a tear. I mean, with Hebo already, but there's a Rivers Rebuke in the mid lane on Hurrywind. Hurrywind going to return some damage back to Twig. Look at the burst out from Hurry though, and a great body block from Snoopy actually to eat that grasp. He's going to sack himself, I feel like, here to keep his mid laner alive, and that is a salute from a support player right here. That's something you're going to do when your mid laner plays like, well, no, he didn't really play bad, he just got caught out, you know, time and time again.
Yeah, just a good ult by PBM. PBM continues to be really impressive on this Yemoja pick. I think it's scary anytime you give it to him. And right there, just kind of walked up and understood his damage, and Hurrywind got caught for it.
Fine, okay, looking for a cheeky one on variety there, looking for the angle as he was going towards the blue buff because Ghosts were grouped up nicely there after the pressure in that middle area. So blue buff stripped away, Coop taken down 2. That's going to at least give 1 for Ghost Gaming of those Totem Coups so far this game. But blue buff now available in Ghost Gaming side of the jungle, and United are back in action. Hurrywind though has no ultimate available, but he still has those water hands to get some damage out if he can get into range. Well, Ghost doing a good job at staying at range, but Hurrywind under pressure again, has to beads early on, still being run down a little bit as the shields come into play from the shell that was available from Polar Bear Mike. Variety slams on down and takes out 1, but fine, okay, answers back quickly, and a great driving strike keeps Twig in an awkward spot. Twig's doing a good job of staying alive for now, until the ambush comes through from Scream to make it a 2-for-1, and the blue buff is still alive.
Snoopy needs to be a little bit careful with where he is, but maybe he's got some help coming. They know that they've got a little bit of time until Sam is back, and Snoopy looks to solo out fine okay, just short on the damage.
Yep,
this is where United cannot afford to overstay, because they've got to have that timer in their head that Sam's coming back.
Oh no, and then fine, okay, outplays Snoopy on the angle. I feel like Snoopy could have dropped the boulder earlier on and didn't, and then the lazy back from Fine Okay, bit of a trap there that just kept Snoopy hanging around, and that double tap was enough to end his life and honestly relieve quite a bit of pressure on that right-hand side of the map.
Still feel like United needs to have that timer going a little bit better, but it wasn't Sam coming back, it was just the cooldowns and the mana for Fine Okay that he needed in order to get that kill. But overall, still an okay engagement for them. That's a lot of farm loss by both mid laners. They'll both feel the loss of those mid waves, but Hurry and Twig both dying again means that they're both in a bit of an awkward spot.
Scream under pressure, but Thor is in the sky right now as Hurrywind rotating and keeping an eye on Hurry to getting dunked. Instead, it's going to be Variety and Snoopy with a great stun from Fine Okay. Doesn't hang around. That was peeling away from Sam Pasaka there. And funny enough, when you actually look at that little bit of play where Sam invades, I think Hurrywind could have pinched it a little bit earlier, but second-guessed himself a little bit. Could have been a pick that ended up with a bit of a good escape from Sam Pasaka, but it does cost him 2 ultimates.
But again, that's because Hurwin probably hesitates because he knows that he cannot afford to keep missing mid-waves. You start to feel the fact that you haven't been there in a while pretty quickly.
Again, great Riptide out from Hurrywind, sorry, from Polar Bear Mike there, connecting with Hurrywind and making him panic enough to ult away. And then Snoopy again has to eat another Grasp of Death to avoid Captain Twig finding himself another kill in this one so far. So still all action just from game 1 all the way to game 3. 7 minutes in, nearly 8, 7 kills. This pace, I'm liking it. Can we keep this all season, please?
Yeah, it's fun, right? This is some fun Smite to watch. I appreciate my defensive chess battles from time to time. Those are fun, but very beginning of the phase, I kind of just missed a whole lot of good fighting, and at least Ghost and eUnited are willing to give that to us.
And I hope this continues, because I think the thing is about this weekend so far, I mean, we're in Sunday, we've got one more set still to go today, but I feel like we've seen a lot of god diversity already, and I think some of that really is the pros themselves haven't really decided on a meta that's good. Every team's kind of brought their own style, their own flavor to it, to try and work out what's going to work out in the long run. Sure, you've seen a couple of items come through a little bit more often that are starting to become core for certain gods and for certain positions. We've seen a lot of flavor from these two teams.
That's kind of what we expect at the beginning of phases, right? Is just different styles of picks that might show up, and both teams have brought a little bit of something. I think we'll continue to see things like Yamojo when Mike's doing this much work, though.
Great stun from Mike. That was pretty much a great bit of work on Snoopy, but Twig was a little bit far forward there. Gets punished heavily by that of Scream, but however, there's Sam for Soccer to follow up. The sweat paper comes through. But Twig, you know, infinite mana during a Persephone ultimate, that's useful to pick up a kill in response to the grasp of death, as the Hunter's starting to battle a little bit here as well. And Guy J is not enjoying this one, has to airstrike away, and he might be under pressure still because Sam for Soccer coming in. Aegis is only going to buy him a moment, and that's a bit of a late Aegis in my opinion. Might not really needed it to stay alive there. 7-5 in under 10 minutes.
Just not really respecting this Persephone damage output in mid, it feels like, for United. And you see the value that this character can bring. Even when she's focused early, she just does enough still because she's doing anything. Every other character's not doing anything from that position, but Persephone brings extra CC, even damage, and that just proves to be a little bit too much. The 3v3 core for Ghost has just been a little bit more effective so far in this game, and that's really, in my mind, not a detriment to Snoopy, because I think he's been playing okay on this Hercules, but it's really just how potent Mike has been.
No ultimate available for Scream here. It just came up as he ambushed in, just so you know, and I think that might be enough for poison. Will he come down for the dunk is the question. No, falls back just fine, okay. Scream gets out of danger too away from the Nemesis, and Sam has to fall back as well. Rise Clone going to keep chasing. Snoopy's kind of hanging in the area here. With a minion wave coming into the tower, I'm not really confident in a dive at this stage at 10 minutes in, but a good bit of action over the solo lane once more.
Just a little bit unfortunate on that timing there from Scream, because he needed some extra, just a little bit of extra time. If he could have gotten that ultimate off before Final K hammered away in order to interrupt him, then it would have been a kill for sure. But as it stands, a little bit unlucky on the timing of that ult and gets punished for it.
I do want to talk a little bit about those solo lane builds, because obviously solo lane lost a bit of a sustain overall in terms of the viability of some of the items over there. And we see like two good examples here with Sun Wukong going for that Soul Eater, where we've got Final Case going for the Shifter's Shield here. Is this specific to certain gods now, Ryan? Is how the solo lane's going to be a little bit more?
I think so. I think it's a little bit more specific to God and to playstyle. Previously, we saw a lot of Thor players go straight into Breastplate in that second item slot. But now, because of the lack of a defensive option from other solo laners, that option means a little bit less.
Well, Scream going to come back over and visit Final K again. No ultimate available for Final K to escape this time, but maybe the hammer will be enough. The wall will slow them down. Hurry Window is pathing beautifully around the corner and will pick up the tail end of that kill. Meanwhile, in the jungle, he gets pinched by 3, so it's answered across the map. I'm not too upset so far, though. Support for a solo laner favours eUnited, unless Ghost Gaming look for the Fury, which they're not going to do right now. Good picks across the map.
No doubt that favors eUnited, and that style of gank is so much more effective now than it was before mid-season, because like I said, normally Thor would go Breastplate. He's a lot tankier in that moment, has a lot more CDR. Because of the Shifter's Shield into the Soul Eater, that's a lot of not tankiness for Fine. I mean, you get some tank stats from Shifters, especially when you're low, but by that point you're oftentimes dead anyways. No HP, nothing like that. You really feel that lack of tankiness early a lot more often, so rotations from junglers often matter a lot more than they used to.
I'm talking about the cooldown reduction more importantly. I mean, we see that Jotun's Wrath picked up from Scream. That cooldown might have just thrown off the timers a little bit of knowing when that ultimate is going to be back up. I mean, Last Breath normally 90 seconds. And I believe the ultimate out from Anvil of Dawn is about the same. So that doesn't surprise me that the cooldown really came into play. She's 110 on 4 at this level anyway. Well, maybe a little closer to Variety now. Trying to strip away the blue buff over on this right-hand side. Successful at that. But it did cost him his ultimate so far. And fine, okay. Preemptively ulting. Snoopy on the way to try and support. But the gap is being closed by Twig on this right-hand side too. Angle cut off from Fine OK to keep Variety trapped. Variety's looking to get his transformation online and does so. Boulder out from Snoopy to just stop them chasing down. Slips the noose on that right hand side. Guy J, meanwhile, being pressured out by Panda Cat on the left.
And that's an itemization advantage from Panda Cat that really makes that even easier for him. The Atalanta's being done. You compare that to a short sword on the other side. That is a massive difference in effective boxing potential. Unless Guy J hits 2 or 3 crits in a row, he's going to lose that trade really effectively. And that's just good identification from Panda on where in the build Guy J is and whether or not he can take advantage.
Variety just going to bird form away, but that's going to force the blink out of Sam Fasaka, who's still going to dive in for the kill here. Great decision making from him, but he can't tank up anymore. Fanoki's out of mana though, so he can't even throw a hammer out to secure a kill. That's an opportunity drop there as Twig now looking to base ping out. Blinking, Earthbreaker off the mark, but Twig's reaction was pretty good there. Wasn't necessarily lazy backing, he wasn't window shopping. But on the right hand side, all that pressure onto Variety is opening up a tier 1 tower. As when you look at the tower situation now, eUnited are definitely at a deficit with how they stand.
Not too far off, though. I mean, that solo lane tower under half HP for Fine OK, and that's the only one that has been taken down. I do think United have to be kind of worried about their tier 1 and how healthy it is, or the lack thereof of HP for that tower right now, because Hebo is one of those characters that can really struggle when he doesn't have somewhere to go quickly for safety. Even though he does a lot of damage, you can kill him pretty easily, even with something like a Nemesis that somewhat gets countered by that water carpet.
I was about to say we're not seeing a Gold Fury attempts in a second, but there's a big grouping from United on this left-hand side all of a sudden. However, 3 members have got to rotate back towards the middle lane. This is probably one of the later Gold Furies of the game so far, as Mike's going to pay some attention there. Variety and Fine OK. Honestly, I really just want to watch these two scrap for about a week, like over and over again in that lane, because I think it's a really interesting matchup and a very balanced one at that.
Well, Variety just got the beads out from Fine OK, which is perfect timing, because Scream is lurking, but maybe not so perfect for United. Sam for Soccer is as well. Love Sam's positioning there.
I was a bit worried for Mike there for a second, but he gets away from danger thanks to a nice little stun at the bubble. The Riptide 2. Fury has been pulled by Panda Cat. Meanwhile, Scream hung around a long time here. Fine, okay, won't get to the sky in time. This tier 1 should fall on the right hand side. And that means the Gold Fury is relinquished on the left, as well as both junglers have shown face to the right hand side. You can start to see some movement across the map now too in that direction. Lotus Crown now online for Mike. Love Lotus Crown, by the way. I think it's very, very good on your Moja.
Basically always have it up between your auto attacks and your 2. It's really easy to always have an option for it.
Just keep that extra protections online for your team. Nice use of the Riptide there as well from Captain Twig, just to juke himself back towards safety as Sam now shows up in mid 2. But eUnited feeling a bit confident knowing Fine OK is still dead for a while longer. Has no teleport available to Fine OK, so he's going to be late to the battle. Panda Cat still battling with the purple buff. Can snipe away if needed. Mike going to use the River's Rebuke early to force a reset. Snoopy in deep and takes more damage than Bargain for. Isolated, taking off the map early. Panda Cat credit with a kill next on the list. Could be that of Captain Twig and will be, but passive is online and will help out a bit more in the fray. This has allowed Fine OK to get into the action and look towards Guy J, who has to airstrike away to safety. Twig was trying to get in action at the tail end, but his ult passive wears off. And now Fine OK and Sam trying to run down United. And the health bars of Ghost not looking too bad, especially with a Yamoja. They turn their attention back to the Fury.
Variety still here and has that ultimate. This is a difficult character to peel. Good blink in, and now this might just force a reset by Ghost. They can just hold it right outside of secured range.
Yeah, the regen coming through from Variety. He's going to dunk down on Panda Cat, try and buy some time for his team to get back. Jigway's back in the fray. Ghost get the Gold Fury though, and Variety will just about escape, I feel like there. Guy J and Snoopy coming back. It's not worth Ghost pressing any further. The gold going the way of Ghost Gaming means the lead extends a little bit further. 2,500 gold now to join that of 2,700 experience.
And that was not a great fight from Ghost. The River's Rebuke was good and in a really good Divine Judgment from Sam for Soccer onto Snoopy. Shredded him very quickly. But that Persephone ultimate did not get a whole lot of value. And that's where you start to get a little bit worried that we might get outvalued by the enemy mage ultimate. But Whirlwind, for the second time in a row, with that crushing wave, uses it to finish off a 1 health Persephone, which is already not ideal. You don't want to be using that 800 damage ultimate to finish off someone very, very low, especially a Persephone who's still going to be there.
Guy J's a bit too deep for my liking there. No Aegis, no beads, no ultimate. One of the most tricky situations to be in as a Jingwei, but I guess with Snoopy and Toad, they felt comfortable. Sam for Soccer, however, blinking, definitely changed that around, and nice snipes coming out there yet again from Panda Cat as Variety and Fine OK continue to battle on this right-hand side. With no towers available, they're happy to just keep on farming.
Why not? That's kind of what both these characters want to do. Moving forward for eUnited, they just need Herwin to find bigger ults than he has so far, and I think that they can still win these fights with the positioning and that they've had and the way that they've played these engagements. They just need better crushing waves.
Horrywin gets hit by the grasp of death, but has beats to escape. His Scream goes in, gets to go off Twig. Sam for Soccer and Thor combine, however, to take out Scream for his transgressions and force Horrywin back further. Into the mix comes Variety towards mid lane, but too little too late to defend this tier 1 tower. As on the left hand side too, Panda Cat has already taken down that tier 2 tower after Guy J had died on that left too. Pyromancer next on the cards, and Ghost Gaming just starting to push this lead a little bit quicker now and starting to cause problems for United everywhere.
All of a sudden, Ghost is up 6k, and that feels like that happened all very, very quickly. Just a bad sequence from eUnited, where they lose a Gold Fury fight, then they overstay in duo, and that opens up a good advantageous fight for Ghost in mid, which then opens up Pyromancer. It's a long sort of butterfly effect for eUnited that ends up not working out too well for them. And now they're starting to fall behind in itemization. You look at what you have in mid lane. Twig's able to keep going for damage. Herwin feeling like he needs a little bit more protection. Goes for Nemean Lion, which I love here for him. I think it's fantastic against Nemesis, who gets almost all of her damage, especially with the build that Sam is going for, out of her auto attacks. So it makes it perfect to get your block stacks. And you get a ton of protection and mana. So you get a whole lot for just a little bit of cost here for Herwin, because he's not losing damage all the way because of the Book of Thoth conversion. I do think Sam's build is the right way to be building them. I think that she doesn't do enough ability damage no matter what you build in order to really make her worth picking in that way. But her auto attacks will outtrade anybody.
No tier 2, no tier 1. Didn't even get a chance to get away from the gust there, did Guy J, as Panda Cat follows through that crit. The Malice, though, what do you feel about the Malice this season? Is it now a potentially good item? We've not seen it in forever.
I think it's been good for longer than people have been not building it. I mean, this stat distribution is strong. 40 power, 25 crit, 10% cooldown reduction, then getting flat cooldown reduction on anything is really, really strong. And you're talking getting a slice and dice up 3 seconds earlier. That is massive. If you slice and dice and use your dashes or use your shield, it does it off all of them, so just 1 proc is great. 2 is better.
Mike's taking a bit of poke there, but not as much as Snoopy ended up doing. His Final K jumps to the back line as well. Double dash coming through as well. Final K picks up the kill on Snoopy. However, Mike's getting a bit low for a second, I'd say, but the heals come through again. Final K front line as Panda Cat started up the Fire Giant already, giving a bit of help there from Sam for Soccer too. But Mike is out of Omni for a second or two, has to use the shell as well to keep himself topped up. Variety's still hunting for this kill and will find it, dunking down. But meanwhile, on the backside, the Sky use from Rama and from Thor will secure Ruin's life. Chase is now on for Variety from Panda Cat and Captain Twig, and Variety's in a lot of trouble here. Panda Cat just whittling down the health bar as time goes on, and Atlanta's really paying dividends again, as first time really Panda Cat has shown some form on this run in this set.
Feels like Panda hasn't taken an ounce of damage all game. I mean, he has just been so safe in all of these team fights because Scream has really been hunting Twig so often in these engagements, but now Scream's got to try and hunt for a Fire Giant and try and steal it.
Well, not in time at all. The burst damage just too much from Ghost. Ultimate used by Sam again on Scream. That forces Scream to disengage and use the beads too. Not available again now for another 150 plus seconds as Ghost Gaming get their first Fire Giant of Game 3. Business is starting to return to usual. I mean, we started this set off with 91% of the fans expecting Ghost Gaming to win. Didn't look as good in Game 1, I'll tell you that. It was close. It wasn't close enough. Is Oni Fury now going to go down 2?
Game 2 was also very competitive and very back and forth. This has really been the only blowout so far, and this one is a blowout. I mean, 11k gold at this point, a 4-level deficit for Scream in the jungle. That's not going to be easy to overcome. The rest of the squad is close in XP at least, and that's going to stop mattering pretty soon as almost everybody on Ghost is level 20 now, but Guy J has really struggled in this game. 0-3 on the Jing Wei, very bottom of the player damage alongside Snoopy. This is the duo lane woes for United that we kind of expected off the rip here are rearing their head so far here in Game 3.
Definitely. An awkward situation, honestly, with how it stands now in this game, because you're still hunting for a bit of farm right-hand side. Overextension from Variety could get punished down here. The crit's wailing through before he can even get to the sky. And you know you're in for a bad time when your Sun Wukong can't even get into the cloud and survive. So he's off the table now for another 50 seconds. Tier 2 towers are available and are going to be looked at on the right-hand side to begin with from Ghost Game.
I mean, this is Phoenix defense or bust territory for eUnited, but their Phoenix defense doesn't feel that great. I think Serket really struggles on Phoenix D because she doesn't have an easy way in to the enemy backline, and when you're only level 16, you can't really afford to go on a frontliner because you just don't do enough damage to them, especially when Mike is a higher level than you.
Yeah, especially when one of your frontliners and Snoopy as well. He's only still level 14 with how this game's gone. I feel like Snoopy's played this one to the best of his ability under the circumstances. A couple of these deaths have been for the benefit of the team more so to keep his carries alive. What can they really do on defense here? Rivers Rebuke out, isolate Snoopy in place, crit through the wall from Panda Cat. Snoopy will heal back up, but the focus is towards the Phoenix. Grasp of Death catches Guy J and Horrywin there at the same time. Mid lane though, Sam Fasaka versus Scream once more, and Sam wins that battle this time round. As Variety comes back into the fray, the right hand Phoenix falls. Panda in the sky! Not with diamonds this time though, doesn't find Snoopy as he regens back in the fountain. As Variety tries to push back Sam a little bit further, but now he can be a bit far forward himself. Fine, okay, from a back angle, looking for somebody. Will find the back line in Horrywind. Horrywind has to beads defensively there too. No blink available for him. Scream into the fray as well. Looking for a pick on Panda Cat. At least gets the beads out of Panda Cat to try and keep him honest. The problem is, though, is that mid lane is still a danger. Fire Giant is still regenning, and they still have heals from Yamoja.
Just feels like the damage is not there from the United backline in this game. Both Hurry and Guy J have really struggled on getting damage off, and that's really, it's been very apparent in these fights that they can't get that damage off.
Mike going to tank it up a little bit. Sam trying to flank around the right-hand side. Firemen's all on the way up the right now, finally. There's a bit of a forced endeavour coming out from Ghost at the moment, but eUnited are doing a very good job on defense of just keeping the backliners from Ghost away from hitting onto that Phoenix line for the time being. But I don't think anyone can really deal with Sam at this moment. We've seen a couple of people go against him and had a tricky time. I think that's why they've looked at sending Horrywind there. Without Horrywind in this fight in the mid lane, this could be a bit more awkward. Mike gets a good Rivers Rebuke off, looking for Guy J on the back, who holds his ground again. And now the Fire Minions have finally reached the throne room on this right-hand side. And Sam has guided them all the way there.
Sam just buying space with that ultimate. Hurry's got to use his soon. Doesn't land the knock-up first, which means that Sam's going to return a lot of that damage and make it easy for Final K to come and clean it up.
And when you send that many minutes to the right-hand side, it opens the window in mid, but still the middle lane is still alive on that Phoenix. Panda looking for a kill on Guy J at the tail end. Can he find the third snipe? All three miss. Great juke boots out from Guy J there to survive. Different story, however, for that middle Phoenix. 2 now down as Ghost Gaming look to retreat. eUnited, though, do look like they're chasing this here, Ryan. Is this a good idea, just trying to pick one off on the way back?
I mean, no Fire Giant anymore for Ghost, and you're sitting in a 5-on-4, but I don't think you're getting a whole lot of advantageous fights no matter what you do. If you're United, this is likely the best fight that you can find, if you can find some people lagging behind.
Well, you saw Captain Twig drop that red buff there. Better safe than sorry, but may still get picked in the jungle. Mike spotted it, and Twig tried to move, but a good blink from Scream finds Twig in an awkward spot. Jingu Bang comes to play, but the flourish keeps him alive. Scream, meanwhile, dies to Panda Cat. Border off the wall, not enough to kill Twig. The Lotus Crown protection's definitely helping out there. As Variety still looking for the pick on Twig. Will have to use the ultimate, but Flourish is available. Nice. And with a beautiful Flourish, Twig will survive. And Variety falls down now to Panda Cat. And that could be all she wrote for Game 3, as Final K is already barreling down this mid lane.
It's a desperation play from eUnited. It's a low percentage play, but I don't know that they're getting a whole lot better than that. I can't fault them for going for a play like that. It obviously doesn't work, but they were going to be in a tough spot no matter what.
Horiwind looking for a play in mid, will find a kill on Twig again, but can he get away again? Well, the Riptide actually from Mike helps him out a little bit, jukes out the Grasp of Death, but fine, okay, paying attention to Guy J instead. On the backside, as the rest of his team take out Horiwind, Guy J will survive. 5 minions through mid lane. 4 on 3. Big ass Kia. Rivers Rebuke drop down again. Titan getting lower. Guy J's airstrike tries to get to the backline looking at Pandacat, trying to stop him from dealing the most damage to it, but Sampa Soccer is swinging for the fences, and Ghost Gaming take this set 2-1. But I think the biggest story here is how well eUnited played. I think if they would have looked like Cthulhu a bit earlier on for my liking, this could have been a bit different. Game 1 was more close than it should have been.
That's true. I mean, to be fair, the one game they banned Cthulhu was the only game that wasn't close. They were at least close in the other 2. So I think that eUnited still has a little bit of work to do in picks and bans. I think that they still need to get comfortable on that left side of the map. Clearly, Snoopy and Guy J both had their struggles towards the back end of this set. But I agree. I think that coming into this set expecting to beat Ghost would be way ahead of schedule for eUnited. If you would have said, you'll have 2 very close, very competitive games, you lose 2-1, I think there's a lot that they can learn from this set, and that's really all you're looking for this point.
Said it quite a bit as well, though. Phase 2, very long season, very long split. We've got a time to see these teams adapt, control, and overcome, basically. We'll find out how United does going forward, but for now, let's get back to the desk to break down that Game 3.
Appreciate it, Hindu and Aggro. Great job on the call, and congrats to Ghost for now being 2-0 here in the SPL Phase number 2. Mifflin, I want to pick things up with you right on the back end of where Aggro and Hindu were talking right there. The schedule maybe that we have for eUnited moving forward here. It's a long phase. Do you think, all things considered, role swap for Snoopy, Guy J coming into the team, a 2-1 with a couple of close games, losing to Ghost 2-1 with a couple of close games, is maybe a moral victory here for the squad?
Normally, I would say yes, and if it were any other team, I would say yes, especially considering they do have that roster swap. But this has been the story of eUnited all year. Always close to the top, always almost winning, always just right there at the finish line and not quite able to cross it. We have a term for teams like that back in the day when I used to play, and we call that the perfect scrim partner. They're going to take you to long, hard-fought games every single time, but you know that they're not quite able to close it out. I think if United are able to somehow figure out what these issues are, of course they can look like one of the best teams. We saw it today. Even Snoopy, when he's losing on this Hercules, that's a risk that you're willing to take. In Game 1, he looked amazing. United are just struggling, and I'm not sure where they need to look to address it.
They'll get there. I have some confidence. It's a long phase for them, but we've already seen some shining lights here from them in their first couple of sets. I'm glad we're showing PBM a little bit here, Mifflin. Obviously, it's a complete team performance from Ghost Gaming, but what'd you see out of the Ghost support today?
I saw every single Riptide landing perfectly, every single stun landing perfectly. The ultimates are well placed. I mean, PBM is the best Yamoja. People like to say he's the best Hercules. They might be right about that. They are 100% right if they're going to give him credit for the Water Goddess, because this man is just perfect on it.
Ghost Gaming, I think they got to be happy with the way their phase has started off here so far. Twig, tough game on the Persephone here, but the rest of the squad was there to bolster up the mid laner. 6, 2, and 3 for fine, okay. Another example, Mifflin, of maybe where this Thor in the solo lane can work.
Yeah, we love Thor's solo, and he played it just right. He wasn't looking to fight Sun Wukong in solo just about ever, except barring when Sam for Soccer showed up to help out with some ganks. He was able to survive very easily with the CC immunity on his ultimate, and if he wasn't forced into using it defensively, he was always rotating to mid, rotating into team fights, trying to find opportunities for his team with Anvil of Dawn. I mean, Final K's great. I'm not making any news there. That's not a headliner. We all know Final K's nuts.
Yeah, he's alright at the game of SMITE. One of the things we highlighted going into this matchup was the Hunter 1v1 that we'd be seeing, not necessarily in-game, but just sort of those two going head-to-head. Pandacat, certainly a conversation around him being the best in the world. Guy J, newcomer to the SPL here, at least for this phase. What did you see from Guy J today? Maybe some hope for the future there for the long lane of eUnited?
I think Gaijay played very admirably. He was able to lock down Panda Cat for the majority of the lanes. He wasn't able to freely rotate or just play as aggressive as Panda might have liked to, barring Game 3 where Panda Cat kind of made Gaijay just look like a sandbag as he beat on him. But when your whole team's losing like that, it's hard to evaluate any singular player's performance because it's all based on just how your entire team's doing. I will say that Gaijay has a very high skill ceiling. That was definitely on display today, and if he continues to grow, he's definitely going to be a contender for some of the top hunters in the league.
Yeah, it's that same conversation. As time goes on, if the comfort kind of grows there between him and Snoopy, long lanes will get easier and easier and easier over time. What do you think so far of this Hunter ADC priority we've seen? A lot of it, Hunter ADC, Magical ADC, excuse me, priority that we've seen up to this point. Chronos was seen once, but not here in this set, and really it seems like if you can blanket ban out the Freya, the Oleron, and the Soul, that kind of gets rid of that issue. Do you think there's some merit for some teams maybe starting to pick up the Chronos if Hecate is that strong of an item?
I think Chronos can certainly work, but Chronos is a very volatile pick. You need a lot of time for Chronos to work. He's one of the few Magical ADCs that doesn't just win the second he gets Ring of Hecate. He's going to need a little bit more time than that. He's going to need those levels. He doesn't hit the power spikes as quickly as Oleron, Freya, or Soul. That said,
Sure.
If you're confident with it and you're willing to play the long game, we've seen already what Chronos is able to do. And I'm thinking about that Fire Giant solo at 17 minutes from Cyclone.
Yeah, that does come to mind, doesn't it? I guess that's something you do have to consider. As the schedule dictates, though, Ghost eUnited started us off here on Sunday. Renegades versus Obey will round out the day. We'll have an interview with Slaney here in a moment, Mifflin, but looking towards the second and final, or the, I suppose, sixth and final set of the week here in Phase 2 in the SPL. Renegades versus Obey. What are you looking forward to in that matchup?
I'm just looking forward to seeing these guys play. I think Renegades and Obey should be the most competitive set this week, just because as far as player skill goes, I think they are around each other, and Obey should be looking a lot stronger now, because Wowie's going to be back in the fray after this short ban that he got recently. If Obey is able to just pull it together, maybe find their win here this week, they should feel a lot more confident going forward. That said, if they go down here against Renegades, I'm not sure Obey is going to be looking too good this split.
It's a very important game for both of these teams. Start off 0-1 so far in Phase 2, a chance against a similar, I don't want to call him similar to your opponent, but an opponent off to a similar start as them looking for their first win. Both Renegades and Obey. I got bad intel from the sales bot. No interview with Slaney, but I'm sure he's a very happy coach here with Ghost in the way things have started off in Phase number 2. Ladies and gents, grab a snack. Keep that seat warm because Renegades Obey will finish off this week in the SPL right after this.